Chapter 905. The 10 halls of the underworld stood majestically. The ancient inheritance that had never seen the light of day stood in the starry sky, overlooking the world after it was reopened. Gains and losses in a round, gains and losses in a general, what was more important? Before King Yama, knowing destiny was silent. He already had an answer in his heart. He had won the first round, but he had also lost. Knowing destiny, don't be too harsh on yourself. Unknowingly, Mo Bai's figure appeared behind him. He looked at the person in front of him and said, "Once the war begins, there will be casualties. Z won't blame you. Luofei is the same. If it were anyone else, they wouldn't have done better today." Ning Chen turned around and looked at his good friend in front of him. He said softly, "Brother Mu, I understand what you mean. Thank you." Mu Qiansheng smiled and said, "We can think of a way to treat Zi's injury. Over the years, we have weathered so many storms. Why should we be afraid of these small waves? It's because we have weathered so many storms that I don't want anything to happen to our friends who have survived. However, my good friend is right. We can overcome even greater difficulties. Compared to the past, this matter is not worth mentioning. I will lead everyone through it as soon as possible." Ning Chen's expression became firm again. "Ha!" Mu Qiansheng chuckled and said, "This is the knowing destiny that I know. Scheming and expedient schemes are not my forte. Only you can worry about it. These 100 days of peace did not come easily. What's the next step? Have you thought about it?" Ning Chen listened quietly. After a moment, he nodded gently. Mu Qiansheng looked at the man beside him and said, "I think you know better than us that the Buddha kingdom cannot be saved. Whether to keep it or to abandon it is your choice. No matter what, we will respect your decision." "It's done," Ning Chen said softly. His eyes gradually deepened as he said, "Next, it's time to do what we should do. I am relieved that you have made this decision." Mu Qiansheng nodded. Forcefully protecting the Buddha kingdom would only cause more casualties. Knowing destiny knew this better than them. However, sometimes, knowing did not mean that one could do it. The Buddha kingdom was indebted to knowing destiny. Giving it up was not easy. Jun Wentian's strength was the biggest problem at the moment. If they had to hide their identities, their strength would be limited. It was especially so for those in the knowing destiny state, who couldn't use the divine sword or the divine prohibition in their hands. It wouldn't be easy to stop Jun Wentian. If they insisted on protecting the Buddhist kingdom, they would have to use their full strength. If that happened, their identities would very likely be exposed, which would be extremely disadvantageous for their future operations. "Brother Mu, are you worried that I will be soft-hearted?" "My good friend, you don't have to worry about this. I have done many things where success is built on the bones of thousands. This time is no exception." Ning Chen sighed. Knowing destiny. Mu Qiansheng's expression turned serious as he said, "Right now, it is not that you have given up on the Buddha kingdom, but that the Buddha kingdom really cannot be saved. You have already done enough for the Buddha kingdom, there is no need to feel guilty. The Buddha kingdom is not the great Xia, it is impossible for us to save everyone. We have done our best, that is enough." Ning Chen looked at the night sky in front of him and said, "I understand. I will think carefully about how to use the final value of the Buddhist kingdom to inflict the greatest damage to the demon palace." Mu Qiansheng nodded. Although it was cruel, this was the reality. "Zhi Ming, although your cultivation talent is not as good as ours, you are the smartest among us. Sometimes, you are troubled because you can see too much. Listen to my advice, treat yourself better. Some burdens should be put down. All this time, you have been too harsh on yourself. The wind and frost you have experienced in the past 100 years is much more than those old monsters who have lived for 1,000 years. I don't know how you have survived, but are you really not tired?" Mu Qiansheng said softly. Ning Chen was silent and did not answer. "All right, I won't talk to you anymore. That girl of yours has been eyeing me for a long time. If I continue to occupy you, that girl will come after me. Mu Qiansheng sighed softly and smiled. Without saying anything more, he waved his hand towards the back and turned to walk towards his palace. Behind him, Yin-er pointed her nose at the former, expressing the dissatisfaction in her heart. She then ran to the front of the palace and hugged the arm of the person beside her, saying softly, Ning Chen, I'll practice the sword for you, okay? Ning Chen's gaze shifted and looked at the girl beside him. A gentle smile appeared on his face as he said, Why are you so diligent today, taking the initiative to think of practicing the sword? I don't like to see you unhappy. I want to help you. Yin said softly. Ning Chen smiled softly and reached out to ruffle the former's hair, saying, All right, I'm fine. You haven't cultivated as long as us, so you won't be able to interfere in a battle of this level for the time being. Master is already very happy that you have such intentions. Yin-er pouted and said, But I want to help you. Then let Master think, what can you do now? Ning Chen pretended to think for a while, then patted the former's head and said with a smile, Hurry up and go to sleep now. Maybe when you wake up, the heavenly speech source in your body will be completely awakened. Then, you will be invincible in the world. Humph. Yin turned her head angrily and shook off the hand on her head. She said unhappily, If you think I'm stupid, then just say it. I'm ignoring you. I'm going to sleep. Yin turned and ran back to the imperial palace behind her, looking very unhappy. When Yin returned to the palace, Ning Chen's expression turned serious again. He looked at the night sky in front of him, and streams of light flashed past. There were less than 100 days until the Demon Palace's next attack on Buddha Mountain. It wasn't a long time, but it was enough. Other than the matter of Buddha Mountain, the other most important thing now was Zi's injury. The power controlled by the third eye between Jun Wentian's brows had already surpassed the third realm. It was strange and powerful, and he couldn't get rid of it. Now that the fourth realm hadn't appeared, only Jun Wentian himself would know how to get rid of this strange power. The one who started the trouble should end it. He had to make another trip. Thinking of this, Ning Chen looked at the palace behind him. He clenched his right hand, and swords flew over and disappeared in an instant. Do you still want to go alone? As she spoke, the void swirled, and a picturesque figure appeared. Seeing the person who came, Ning Chen didn't look surprised. He nodded and said, Right now, I'm the only one who can face Jun Wentian head-on. Your whereabouts can't be exposed. I'll take action as the ninth son of Mahist clan. This is the only way. King Aaron and Jian Er haven't taken action yet. Why don't you let them go and help you? Luoshan asked softly. The combat power of the 10 kings of hell can't be lost. If they help me this time, they won't be able to appear as kings of hell again in the future. The loss outweighs the gain. Luoshan, I know that your control of the laws is extraordinary. Please help me stabilize the fluctuations of the divine restriction and don't let them know, Ning Chen requested. I understand. Be careful. Luoshan didn't persuade him anymore and replied softly. Chapter 906. In the starry sky, the divine restriction formed by thousands of meteors dissipated, and a white-clothed figure with dazzling white hair walked out. In an instant, he disappeared into the distance. Mahist Gate's ninth son had appeared once more. For the sake of his close friend's injury, he had reignited his peerless sharpness. In the endless starry sky, the phoenix moved at extreme speed. Its red wings opened and closed, covering thousands of miles in an instant. In the northern region of the all-heaven starfield, the flames of war spread. The Demon Palace's northern army was unstoppable. After days of continuous battles, the northern region was unified. The head of the demon army, Jun Wentian, stood with his spear. He was an undefeatable divine general, causing the world to fear him. Just at this moment, thousands of sword shadows crisscrossed the sky. On an exceptionally dazzling divine sword, a white-clothed figure with white hair arrived. His aura was incomparably powerful, shocking the demon army. That familiar appearance was known to the world. Light flashed through Jun Wentian's eyes. Mahist Gate's ninth son had finally come. Ning Chen looked at the first protector of the demon palace in front of him. He calmly said, "We can't use it here. Let's find another place." "Sure." Knowing that the newcomer was extraordinary, Jun Wentian's battle intent also ignited. Ning Chen's figure turned around, and with a step, he flew toward the distant peak. Jun Wentian followed, turning into a streak of light and flying away together. Behind them, the demon generals looked at each other in dismay. They were shocked by this sudden challenge. The head of the three demon generals, a purple-armored woman, said, "Immediately report this to the holy priest." "Yes." Another demon general nodded and solemnly replied. 1,000 miles away from the demon army, on the Heavenly Guard's 12 peaks, 2 experts descended from the sky. Genesis Supreme unsheathed himself, and a dazzling brilliance filled his eyes. The Taoist Gate's famed peak had reappeared in the world. He took a step forward, and his body condensed yin and yang. Ice and fire appeared at the same time, shocking the world. The sword and palm clashed, and the aftershock spread out. Sword chi and palm energy entered the surroundings, and unfathomably deep ravines appeared, deep into the mountain. The battle between the two experts did not distinguish between good and evil, as it had already been blurred. Both of them had serious expressions, and their attacks were majestic. If they wanted to fight, then let's fight. Why would there be so many reasons? After 10 moves, the sword light became more and more dazzling. The only sword in the world was so dazzling that it was difficult to look at it. Your reputation is not in vain. You are worthy of my full strength. Palm against palm, the battle was decided in an instant. Jun Wentian raised his hand to summon wind and thunder, and the 3 sharp blades appeared. Holding the spear, the divine weapon broke the sword light. With a loud rumble, fire sword and snow swayed. Within the yin and yang, Ning Chen raised his hand and pointed. Sword chi condensed at the tip of his finger, breaking through the heart. With rapt attention, Jun Wentian tilted his body to avoid the sword chi. Then, the 3 tips and 2 blades spun around, and the tail blades spun rapidly as he made a powerful counterattack. His sword finger turned back, clanging against the divine weapon. Taisher swung it, killing light whistling through the air as it went for the throat. Jun Wentian flipped his palm and concentrated his energy. Wind and thunder filled the sky as the Qilin materialized and took the sword light head-on. The confrontation at the pinnacle caused several shocking moves. Rumbling sounds echoed throughout the mountain peak. Both of them were the strongest in the world. Although they had only exchanged a few moves, they were already praising each other. He is so capable, yet he is helping the evildoer to do evil and slaughter the world. How sad. Frost condensed on the sword and phoenix fire lingered. Ning Chen activated the energy of yin and yang again. The 2 extremes intertwined and appeared together. Under the slanting moonlight, the eyes were filled with blazing blood light. Your hands are also stained with blood. You and I are the same. Who is qualified to judge the other? Jun Wentian said coldly. He took a step forward, and the 3 tips and 2 blades gathered thousands of thunderbolts. In an instant, the aurora was dazzling and the thunder roared. The next moment, the 2 figures crossed each other. The thunderbolts shook the yin and yang, and the clouds in the sky changed. With a loud rumble, heavy rain poured down. Scroll of earth, 1,000 turns of earth. The sword turned around and stabbed into the ground. Ning Chen moved his palms, and the martial arts of the heavenly book appeared again. The ground shook and folded from the middle, pressing down on the protector of the demonic palace. Heavenly book. Jun Wentian's eyes narrowed slightly. He stepped into the air and avoided the rising ground. Ning Chen looked up, and a strange look flashed across his face. He stomped his feet and jumped into the air with his sword. The cold sword light crossed again, and the blue sword waves merged with the sky. Scroll of heaven, pardon heaven. Heaven and earth crossed, and the martial arts were shocking. The knowing destiny with a sword in hand was the only one between heaven and earth. Jun Wentian focused and raised his hand to summon wind and thunder. Layers of destructive thunderbolts spread in all directions and blocked the blue sword waves. Before the aftermath of the two moves ended, the white-clothed figure appeared again. The Taisher snow encircled, and the energy in his palms ignited the flames. The sword and palms moved together, leaving no room for breathing. Jun Wentian was also not afraid. He condensed the energy in his palms and summoned wind and thunder with his divine weapon. He faced the person in front of him head-on. From the sky to the peak, the two figures kept crossing each other. Sword chi, spear radiance, thunderbolts, and wind and snow swept in all directions. The mountains on the 12 peaks of Tianwei collapsed one after another, and the sand turned into waves and falling stones became rain. Outside the battle, many demon generals arrived. However, without Jun Wentian's permission, no one dared to interfere. The battle became more and more intense. 1 moment, 2 minutes. It was hard to tell who was better. The two extremes of martial arts were at the peak. The dominator of weapons and the king of weapons competed with each other. On the peak, Ning Chen's left hand pointed at the sword. Suddenly, the undercurrent on the Taisher sword rushed out. The wind and snow opened, and the phoenix fire condensed into the sea. The yin and yang formation opened, and the Taisher formation rose into the sky. Is this your sword? It's still not enough. Jun Wentian shouted. His martial yuan rushed into the sky, and the azure gold crown shattered. His long hair danced in the wind, and lightning covered his body. The battle became white-hot again. In the distance, several figures descended from the sky and stood in the void to watch the battle. The legend of Mahist sect and the undefeated protector of the Devil Palace were two people who had never lost. Who would win and continue the legend of being undefeated? Every expert present paid attention to the battle. In terms of emotion, the Devil Palace was now wreaking havoc in the world, so they were more inclined to believe that the 9th disciple of Mahist sect would win. In terms of logic, the combat power displayed by the first protector of the Devil Palace in the Battle of Buddha Mountain was not something that anyone below the 4th level could defeat. On the peak, the downpour became more and more intense. The battle between the two became more and more intense. The sword was stronger, and the spear was heavier. Even if it was not for the world or for all living beings, it was just a battle between martial arts practitioners. Haven't the Saint Priest and the others arrived yet? Seeing that the eastern horizon had turned white, the leader of the 3 demon generals, the purple-armored woman, asked in a low voice. They should be here soon. Before she finished speaking, 3 figures walked out from the peak in the distance. The leader was dressed in a blue brocade robe. His expression was cold as he watched the battle in front of him. The 9th disciple of Mahist sect, it's him again. Behind them, Moonweaver's eyes were filled with killing intent as she said in a low voice. Saint Priest, this person is a great threat to the future of the Devil Palace. Attacking now is the best chance to get rid of him. Bai Wangran suggested. Jia Tiance raised his hand to stop the former and said calmly, since this person dares to attack, how can he not be prepared? Besides, they should be here soon. As soon as he finished speaking, figures descended from the sky. There were 5 of them in total, and their faces were covered with the evil faces of Yama. Their auras were so powerful that no one dared to underestimate them. Seeing the 5 of them, Jia Tiance's eyes narrowed. Suddenly, he looked to the other side, and a cold light flashed in his eyes. He had also come. At this moment, on the peak in the distance, a red-haired figure appeared. He wore a Yama mask, and his aura was like an abyss, unfathomable. Is it knowing destiny? How is it possible? One of the 5 Yama looked at the peak in the distance and said in shock. What's impossible? Under the Song Emperor's Yama mask, Mu Qiansheng looked at the red-haired figure in the distance and said in a low voice, "He has two doppelgangers and the Chaos Scroll to hide his aura." Before he attacked, he must have expected this situation and deliberately left a backup plan to deceive the Saint Priest of the Devil Palace and the people of the world. Mo Gate's ninth disciple and Yama appeared at the same time. There was no better way to dispel the suspicions of the world. "Should we help?" Under the other Yama mask, Luo Xingqian asked. Mu Qiansheng shook his head and said, "If the enemy doesn't move, I won't move. We don't know what knowing destiny's plan is, so we can't act rashly and ruin his plan." On the peak in the distance, the red-haired Yama's figure flashed. In an instant, he arrived in front of the five and said indifferently, "He told me to tell you not to attack." "You are a devil." Hearing the coldness in the former's voice, Mu Qiansheng's expression turned serious and he slowly said. The red-haired Yama did not answer. He stood there quietly, coldly watching the battle in the distance. Various forces appeared to watch the unprecedented battle. On Tianwei's 12 peaks, sword qi and lightning crisscrossed, each showing their peak abilities. "I know your abilities are not limited to this. Use your full strength and amaze me." Jun Wendian raised his palm and shook off the raging phoenix fire in front of his eyes. His fist condensed into lightning and he punched out with the power to break the sky, frightening gods and ghosts. Ning Chen waved his sword and blocked the strong move. With a bang, his body drew 2 steps back and his sword stabbed into the ground. Sword qi broke through the ground. Jun Wendian took a step and swept his body, dodging the sword light that rushed out. He waved his 3-pointed double-edged swords across the sky and used his ultimate move. With a raise of his hand, Trapping Immortal appeared and landed on the ground. The sky was filled with red light. Ning Chen's figure moved with extreme speed. His afterimages were hard to see, but his sword was dazzling. A sonorous sound resounded through the peak. The divine weapons clashed at an extreme speed. Suddenly, the red sword light soared into the sky like a waterfall. Trapping Immortal showed off its might and attacked aggressively. Jun Wendian dodged, but he missed by a hair. A sword light slashed across his chest, bringing out a brilliant waterfall of blood. "Back off." With injuries on his body, Jun Wendian furrowed his brows. He shouted and slapped out, landing on the chest of the person in front of him. Ugh! With a muffled groan, Ning Chen's figure slid back 10 feet. He stabilized himself, and the remaining force was discharged. The mountain behind him collapsed and fell down the mountain. In a situation where both sides were injured, it was difficult to determine the winner. The blood that flowed on the ground was so dazzling. The fighting spirit of the 2 strongest people in the world was constantly accumulating. They swallowed the blood, suppressed their injuries, and stepped forward, once again taking advantage of each other. Outside the battlefield, all the experts were watching this shocking battle, and their hearts were filled with a myriad of emotions. In a one-on-one battle, the 9th son of Mo Gate is actually able to fight evenly with brother. Moon Weaver said in shock. He was able to defeat the old ancestor of Qilin Pavilion not only by scheming. Without the corresponding support of martial strength, any strategy is worthless, Jia Tians said indifferently. Does Saint Priest mean that the 9th son of Mo Gate already has the ability to be on equal footing with Jun Wendian? Bai Wangran asked seriously. Although it is not what I wish to see, it is already a fact. Jia Tians nodded and said calmly, in this battle, if Jun Wendian can't kill him, from now on, unless the Devil Lord personally appears, no one in the world can do anything to him. Chapter 907. On the 12 peaks of Tianwei, the flames of war filled the sky, and the murderous light was bone-chilling. The 2 unparalleled experts unleashed their full power, and their brilliance split the heavens and the earth. Their palms crossed, and they were drenched in sweat. The 2 of them were fearless, and their moves were incomparably violent. In the blink of an eye, they split the mountains. As they clashed, the aurora of the battle was dazzling. The Taisher sword was engulfed in phoenix fire, and the wind and snow coiled around it. The Taoism's peerless edge showed its might, and the sword hummed continuously, echoing through the night sky. As the two palms clashed, a glaring cold light shone in all directions. The two palms clashed, and waves of chi surged. The two experts exchanged injuries continuously, and their fists and palms collided. In the east, the sun had already risen, and the torrential rain in the sky gradually stopped. The dark clouds dispersed, and the first rays of dawn shone down. A night had passed, and on the peak, the battle had gone on for an unknown amount of time. The two of them were already injured, and their clothes were dyed red with blood, adding to the killing intent of the battle. In terms of foundation and experience, the two of them were at the peak, and neither of them held back. Facing such an opponent, any mercy would be disrespectful. Outside the battle, the experts of the underworld, the demon palace, and other forces were facing each other. No one dared to make a move, and the world witnessed that before this battle ended, no one had the right to interfere. 11. With a thought, thousands of sword auras rose into the sky. Ning Chen's sword will rose, and the perfect move that exhausted the limits of the sword appeared in the world again. Nirvana. 11 was unleashed, and Nirvana condensed again. Ning Chen put his left hand together and raised his yuan. Suddenly, a magnificent sword light coiled out and rushed to the 9 heavens. The two ultimate sword moves of the present age appeared at the same time. In an instant, the accumulated sword will on the 12 peaks of Tianwei exploded, and the mountains collapsed and the ground was overturned. Knowing that this move was shocking, Jun Wentian didn't dare to be careless. With a shout, the 3-pointed and 2 blades in his hand whistled, and thunder rumbled from the 9 heavens. The move of the 9 transformations mysterious art appeared for the first time. Xianhuang World Creation. This ultimate move was used against the strongest enemy in his life. Jun Wentian sank his yuan, and the Xianhuang aura overflowed, gathering the thunder in the mysterious art, and rushed out. In an instant, the sword auras and the thunder collided, and endless destructive power spread out. The 12 peaks of Tianwei couldn't withstand the power anymore, and sank into the ground. The peak transformed into an abyss, a world-shocking scene that shook everyone's hearts. The aftermath of the battle rippled outwards, and experts several hundred li away immediately retreated, avoiding the sharp radiance. In the battle, the two of them stood in the air. Suddenly, a huge collapsed mountain came crashing down from the 9 heavens. The pressure of Mount Tai made it impossible for anyone to dodge. Ning Chen and Jun Wentian raised their heads. Their pupils constricted as they simultaneously struck out with their palms, which landed on the mountain with a loud boom. The mountain trembled, pushed by a huge force, once again rushing into the sky, flying into the clouds. In the blink of an eye, the two silhouettes below once again rose up. Their divine weapons clashed as their palms and fists collided. Fresh blood dripped down, and sweat flew everywhere. Since the start of the battle, both of their bodies had been severely exhausted. Victory or defeat was only a matter of time. It's about to end. Prepare to attack. Outside the battle, Jia Tians looked at the battle before him and said calmly. Yes. The Moon Weaver Maiden and Bai Wangran acknowledged the order in a low voice. They focused their energy and prepared to attack. In the horizon, the void shook, and a barefoot beautiful figure in a blue dress walked out. Her blood-red hair fluttered in the wind, and her aura did not lose out to the two protectors at all. On the other side, the expressions of the Yama kings from the underworld also became serious. In the lead, the red-clothed Yama king surged with demonic chi, preparing for the upcoming battle. Everyone was about to take action. Below, the two people in the battle were completely focused, as if they were unaware of what was happening outside the battle. In the sky, the mountain fell again. As the two exchanged blows, they struck out with their palms at the same time, causing the mountain to tremble. When their palms collided, both of them retreated 100 zhang. Their gazes met, and although there was sympathy, there was even more coldness and killing intent. No matter how satisfying the battle is, there will be a time when it ends. Pay attention, the next move will determine the victor. With a shout, Jun Wentian took a step forward. Instantly, demonic chi surged, and a strange light spread out from his body. Amidst the roaring thunder, an ancient power rapidly awakened, shaking the heavens and the earth. On the other side of the battle, Ning Chen stood quietly, looking forward. A brilliant light flashed in his eyes. The moment he had been waiting for had finally arrived. Taisher entered the ground, and the sword intent stopped. Ning Chen calmed his chi and shouted. In an instant, red light filled the sky and entered his body. The 5 scrolls opened, and the life scroll activated. Heaven, earth, nothingness, and spirit once again evolved into the scene of creation. The two had pushed their cultivation to the limit, and victory would be decided the moment they made their move. Outside the battle, the expressions of all the powerhouses became serious, and they prepared to take action. In the battle, among the demonic eyes that filled the sky, a faint demonic eye opened. In an instant, a strange light pierced through the world, appearing to destroy the heavens and the earth. In the face of life and death, in the moment of crisis, Ning Chen's body flourished with red light. The phoenix wings on his back unfurled, and he quickly retreated. Ah! The strange light pierced through his body, bringing with it a waterfall of blood. Ning Chen endured his heavy injuries and activated the 5 scrolls, forcefully stopping the destructive aura that pierced through his body. In the next moment, a shocking scene occurred. In the vision of the 5 scrolls, the destructive light's momentum stopped, and an instant later, it turned back. Before anyone could react to this unexpected scene, the strange light broke through the demonic aura and attacked its master. Ah! With a groan, blood spurted out of Jun Wentian's chest. He staggered and was heavily injured. Clang! 3 blades stabbed into the ground, supporting his unstable body. Jun Wentian looked up to the sky and laughed. What a good 9th son of Mahist sect. Delightful, delightful. Kill. Outside the battle, Jia Tian's coldly ordered. Moon Weaver and Bai Wang Ran accepted the order, and their figures flashed, flying toward the distant battle. In the void, the demonic butterfly flew through the air, moving toward the battle. The demonic palace moved, and on the other side, the Yama kings of the underworld moved as well, rushing toward the battle. Heavily injured, Ning Chen used his sword to prop himself up. He glanced at the first protector of the demonic palace in front of him, and a smile that no one could understand appeared on his face. Many thanks, Jun Wentian. Ning Chen spoke softly. He took a step forward and leaped into the 9 heavens. He caught the falling mountain and threw it towards the 2 protectors who were rushing over. Useless struggle. Moon Weaver snorted coldly. With a wave of her hand, the moon-inverted water moon was unsheathed, and a dazzling light filled the eyes. A sword slashed the mountain. Boom! With a terrifying collision, the sword light slashed the mountain, and its momentum did not stop, continuing forward. Ning Chen swung his sword to block, but his heavily injured body could not withstand it. With a loud tremor, his body flew dozens of feet away. Demonic body, I'll leave the rest to you. After sending this message, Ning Chen did not delay any longer. He used the momentum to leap and rush into the distance. Outside the battle, under the Yama King mask, the demonic body nodded slightly and replied. Today's situation was settled, and all that was left was to wait for the results. The source of Z's injury is that destructive energy. Whoever started it should untie it. We don't know how to remove it, but that doesn't mean that Jun Wentian doesn't know either. I will think of a way to make Jun Wentian suffer the same injury. What you need to do is follow him and find a solution as soon as possible. Chapter 908. Killing intent filled the wilderness as streams of light flashed past. In order to eliminate future troubles, the generals of Demon Palace quickly pursued the heavily injured 9th disciple of Mahist Gate. From the rising sun to the middle of the day, the pursuit did not stop. 2 protectors of Demon Palace, 3 true realm demon generals, and thousands of demon army experts continuously swept past the sky. On the 12 peaks of Heavenly Way, black and white chess pieces filled the sky, forming an inescapable net that blocked off the 5 Yama Kings. Within the inescapable net, the demonic butterfly blocked off the 5 Yama Kings with her sleeves fluttering in the wind. Flower burial tears drew a beautiful black light. With the help of the black and white chess pieces, she was actually able to fight evenly with the 5 Yama Kings. Outside the battle, Jia Tian's raised his hand to set up a formation. The black and white chess pieces continuously landed, using the heaven and earth as a chessboard, trapping the 5. 15 minutes, 30 minutes. Time slowly passed. In the battle, the 5 became more and more anxious, knowing that their lives were in danger. They wanted to escape but they could not. Close to 2 hours later, Jia Tian's looked at the blazing sun in the sky, waved his hand to disperse the chess pieces, and said calmly, "Retreat." In the battle, demonic butterflies' twin blades appeared, the ultimate martial light illuminating the world, shook off the battle with one move, then took a step forward and escaped. Falling Star drew his bow. Just as he was about to shoot, Mu Qianshang's figure flashed from the side, raising his hand to stop the former. "Help, knowing your life is important." With that, streams of light broke through the sky. The 5 Yama Kings' figures quickly flew into the distance. In the sky above the ruins of Tian Wei's 12 peaks, Jia Tian's stood quietly, watching the 5 leave, but did not stop them. So much time had passed, they could not catch up even if they wanted to. The peaks returned to the deep valley, the slanting moon sprinkled a cold waterfall on the ground, blood-stained figures flashed past, holding on for a day, unable to move forward. Behind them, streams of light flew past. In the lead, Bai Wangran and Moon Weaver came with killing intent, followed by 3 demon generals, followed by thousands of demon army, the demon chi that covered the sky and moon, leaving no room for escape. "Not running anymore, then this will be your burial ground." Bai Wangran took a step forward, looking at the blood-stained young man in the valley, and said coldly. Ning Chen raised his hand and condensed his essence, suppressing the heavy injury on his chest. His gaze swept across the devil army that was charging at him from all directions. "You haven't been able to kill me so many times. Today will be the same. In the past, you were still useful, so it wasn't impossible to let you live. But now, your value has been exhausted, and only death awaits you." The Moon Weaver maiden waved her hand and a sword appeared. She reversed the water and the moon, revealing a divine blade. She drew her sword and moved forward. The divine weapon attacked. Genesis Supreme and the inverted water moon clashed, starlight scattering in all directions. Under the cold moon, the 2 swords glowed with boundless killing intent. Outside the battlefield, Bai Wangran stood quietly, watching the battle. After a while, he said, "You guys go as well." "Yes." The 3 demon generals behind him respectfully accepted the order. Their figures flashed past, demonic energy boundless as they began to attack again. Ning Chen brandished his sword and knocked away the person in front of him. Then, he clenched his left hand and unleashed the immortal trapping blade. The immortal sword pierced the ground, and red light rose. In an instant, the battlefield was filled with sword light, and everything within 100 miles was turned into hell. "Kill!" Killing intent surged on the faces of the 3 demon generals, and the halberds in their hands danced like dragons. The 3 of them worked together and pressed forward. Outside the battlefield, Bai Wangran waved his hand again. Instantly, the army surged forward like a tidal wave. Genesis Supreme swung his sword, and a waterfall of blood splattered. Ning Chen did not want to drag the battle out, so he used all his killing moves. No one could stop him. In the deep valley dyed red, corpses piled up into mountains. The sound of slaughter was endless. The Moon Weaver maiden's sword moved with great momentum, and every move was majestic. The 3 demon generals worked together to drag the battle out, not giving Ning Chen any time to catch his breath. Ning Chen swung his sword, advancing step by step. Even though his true essence was about to run out and his body was heavily injured, his proud battle spirit would not allow him to fall. Respectable expert, choosing to be buried here can be considered as not a disgrace to your glorious life. Outside the battlefield, Bai Wangran flipped his palm, and a fierce wind blew and waves surged. With his heavy injuries, his reaction was already slow. Ning Chen came back to his senses and swung his sword to block, but he was slightly slower. The heavy palm landed on his body, and with a thump, his body flew back dozens of feet. Ugh! The tip of his sword stabbed into the ground, stopping his retreat. Ning Chen vomited blood, dyeing the ground in front of him red. After so many battles, his body was close to running dry. Ning Chen stood there quietly, calming down for a moment. Something's wrong. Just as she was about to advance, she suddenly stopped. The Moon Weaver maiden looked at the figure in front of her, an intense unease rising in her heart. In the blink of an eye, Bai Wangran and the 3 demon generals arrived, all of them using their killing moves to end this long battle. If you want to take my life, then pay with your life. Ning Chen softly roared, his eyes shining with dazzling light. With a flip of his palm, he refined yin and yang. Where the world was created, endless primal chaos appeared, and shocking phenomena appeared in the world. In a flash, thunder roared in the 9 heavens, causing gods and ghosts to tremble in fear. Boundless wind and snow rapidly spread outwards. Within the wind and snow, Su Yi stood high in the air. She released all of her cultivation, using the last of her strength to condense the strongest move she had ever used in her life. Immediately, 1,000 miles of ice froze over and 10,000 miles of snow fell down. For scrolls together, lifeless heaven and earth. The world creation move, endless destruction. At this moment, in the deep valley, a terrifying scene occurred. Waves of snow swallowed the world, and everything within 1,000 miles was instantly frozen, turning into an icy hell. In the center of the battle, Bai Wangran and the 3 demon generals were the first to bear the brunt. Immediately, their bodies were frozen, swallowed by the ice and snow. Dozens of feet away, the Moon Weaver maiden swung her sword to block the heavenly might. She retreated, her mouth red. The majestic move swallowed the heavens, the earth, the rivers, and the mountains. After one move, the scene of a frozen hell filled the eyes, shocking everyone. Damn it! Within the frozen statue, a gale swept through, shattering the bindings. Bai Wangran's figure flew out, and his palm landed on the former's chest again. With a thump, blood sprayed out like rain. 100 feet away, Su Yi stopped herself, but she did not fall. She stood proudly. The Moon Weaver maiden and Bai Wangran looked at the blood-covered figure 100 feet away, but the fear in their eyes did not lessen. As long as he did not die, they could not be at ease. Cough, cough. Violent coughs rang out in the valley. Ning Chen's sword stabbed into the ground, blood flowing out. He panted heavily, one sound after another, as if he would collapse at any moment. The end had come. The valley was so quiet that it made one's heart palpitate. The frozen figures and thousands of demon generals had all been buried. 100 feet away, the Moon Weaver maiden and Bai Wangran looked ahead with serious expressions. For a moment, no one dared to step forward. There's only one move left. Are you not coming? Hoarsely speaking, Ning Chen smiled tiredly at the two. He staggered and walked out of the valley. The Moon Weaver maiden and Bai Wangran looked at each other, then followed at a distance. The end was set. Now, there was no need for them to take this risk and be half dead by the person in front of them. The cold moon shone on the valley, covering everything in silver. The blood-covered knowing destiny walked in front. Blood dripped from the sword in his hand. Although he was at the end of his life, he still intimidated the 2 demon palace protectors. They did not dare to take half a step forward. Outside the valley, Ning Chen stopped. He turned and looked at the blood-stained path behind him. He said softly, "Look, the beautiful scenery of the world is always the most beautiful when life is withering. Can you see it clearly?" The Moon Weaver Maiden and Bai Wangran frowned. The fear in their hearts did not lessen. They cautiously watched the person's final counterattack. "Still not going to make a move? Your Saint Arbiter should be waiting anxiously." Ning Chen looked at the two in front of him. In this stalemate, the Moon Weaver Maiden and Bai Wangran were afraid. Neither of them wanted to be the scapegoat. For a moment, they stood there with gloomy expressions, neither advancing nor retreating. "What a pity." Ning Chen sighed softly. He did not wait any longer. He turned and continued forward. The two focused their eyes. Just as they were about to chase after him, a purple light suddenly descended from the sky. With a bang, it fell down. The purple cloud sword appeared. A delicate and beautiful figure walked out. Her cultivation was infinitely close to the fourth realm. The entire valley shook. "None of you are allowed to touch him," the girl said coldly. Outside the valley, a gratified smile appeared at the corner of Ning Chen's mouth. Then, his body fell straight down. She had finally made it. The girl moved and arrived in front of the valley in an instant. She supported the heavily injured man and said with a slightly dissatisfied tone, "Why didn't you wait for me? You clearly sensed me. You're not fit to kill." Ning Chen said weakly. He could no longer maintain his chaotic consciousness and fainted. A man gently picked him up. She looked coldly at the two in the valley and said, "I'm taking him away. You're not allowed to follow." The Moon Weaver Maiden and Bai Wangran's expressions darkened. Just as they were about to attack, the clothes on their chests suddenly tore apart. They were just a hair's breadth away. They had no words to warn them. The two of them narrowed their eyes. When did this happen? Outside the valley, a man took a step forward with the person in her arms and leaped into the distance. "Go back and report to the Saint Minister." The unfamiliar expert was shockingly powerful. The Moon Weaver Maiden and Bai Wangran suppressed the waves in their hearts. Their figures flashed and disappeared into the night. The atmosphere in the Demon Palace's sacred hall was abnormally oppressive. Jia Tiance, dressed in a blue brocade robe, stood in the hall. He looked at the two kneeling in front of him coldly. 3 demon generals, 4,000 demon soldiers, and the two of you, but he was still rescued. Do you still have the face to come back? Jia Tiance said coldly. The Moon Weaver Maiden and Bai Wangran lowered their heads, not daring to say a word. The result was already decided. Knowing that it was useless to bicker, Jia Tiance suppressed the anger in his heart and said, "Describe that woman's characteristics in detail." The Moon Weaver Maiden looked up and said seriously, "Saint Minister, the sword in that woman's hand is the purple cloud sword of the divine armament Peak's divine armament." Jia Tiance frowned slightly. He raised his hand and pointed at the divine armament. In the void, the heavenly curtain appeared. Dense mist floated and traced back to the source. "It's her." After a long time, Jia Tiance waved his hand and dispersed the heavenly curtain. He said, 100 years ago, a woman beside the 9th son of the Mahist sect was taken away by the divine armament on the ancient road of the stars. At that time, this caused quite a stir among the star venerables of the various domains. The one who stopped you should be her. The Moon Weaver Maiden and Bai Wangran heard this and were shocked. How could it be? 100 years ago, this woman was still unknown. How could she be so powerful in just 100 years? There's no need to be surprised. There are many geniuses in the world, and some people are always easy to understand. This woman is one of them. Jia Tiance said calmly. He looked at the two people in front of him and said, "You two should heal your wounds as soon as possible. The Devil Lord is getting impatient. After the 100-day agreement, we'll immediately attack Buddha Mountain." Chapter 909. At the border of the 3 domains, the 10 halls of the underworld. One by one, the kings of hell gathered in the king of hell's hall. They took off their masks and revealed their true appearances. Is there still no news of Jiming? Mu Qianshang asked. No. Jian Er shook his head. Qi Yanxia and Luo Xingqian just sent back a message. When they chased into a deep valley, they only found thousands of corpses of the devil army. From the frozen aura, it should be Jiming's doing. However, Jiming has completely disappeared from there. Could he have been brought back to the devil palace by the two guardians? Yi Xuanmiao asked. I don't think so. Mu Qianshang denied. With Jiming's temperament, even if he died in battle, he would not be captured by the devil palace. Moreover, Jiming is cautious by nature. He must have a backup plan. It's just that we don't know about it. What about his devil body? After the battle ended, there was no trace of it. He also did not say anything. What is Jiming thinking? What is the purpose of this battle? Yi Xuanmiao frowned. Everyone was silent. They also did not understand why Jiming would challenge Jun Wentian as the ninth disciple of the Mahist sect. In this battle, other than the result of both sides suffering, there was no other result. I think I know why Jiming did this. At this moment, Luo Fei, who had been silent, said softly. He is looking for a way to heal Zi. Huh? Hearing this, everyone frowned slightly, not understanding the meaning of his words. Did you notice that at the end of the battle, Jiming forcefully reversed Jun Wentian's move and suffered a backlash? Jiming has the speed of the phoenix and was prepared in advance. Logically speaking, he should have been able to avoid that move. There is only one explanation for his actions. He did it on purpose. Luo Fei explained. It is indeed possible. Yi Xuanmiao and the others nodded. But why? At this point, everyone's expression suddenly changed. They realized that it was actually this method. It's too risky. Mu Qianshang's face darkened. It's not like he doesn't know Jun Wentian's strength. If he is careless, he will be doomed eternally. But this is the only way. Sword 2 sighed softly and said, knowing Destiny's temperament. It's absolutely impossible for him to sit back and watch Z walk on the edge of life and death. Then can he play around with his own life? Mu Qianshang said solemnly, moreover, he didn't even discuss such a big matter with us before taking action. Does he not trust us that much? It's not that I don't trust you, it's that I can't tell you. On the other side, Luoshan said softly, if he did, would you have allowed him to do so? Mu Qianshang clenched his fists tightly, not replying. What's done is done. It's useless to talk about it. We'd better find a way to find Jiming as soon as possible. His devil body must be secretly following Jun Wentian. As long as we find the devil body, we'll know whether Jiming is safe or not, Luoshan suggested. It's useless. Madame Luofei shook her head. She softly said, since Knowledge Destiny made such arrangements, he must have given the Chaos Scroll to the demon body. With the Chaos Scroll helping him conceal his aura, unless he wants to show himself, no one in the world will be able to find him. Actually, you don't have to be so worried. Below, Aaron Ming Wang looked at everyone with a smile. The 100-day agreement between young Master Ning and the Devil Palace is coming soon. Once the agreement is reached, Buddha Mountain will definitely face another great calamity. Whether young Master Ning will protect Buddha Mountain or not, as long as he's still alive, he will definitely come back in advance to make arrangements. That makes sense. Jian Er nodded. With Knowledge Destiny's personality, he would definitely not let Buddha Mountain be destroyed. At least, he would come back to make some arrangements. Rumble. At this moment, above the 10 halls, the divine restriction suddenly vibrated. It was so clear that everyone present was shocked. Is Knowledge Destiny back? Mu Qianshang stood up and asked. It's possible. Jian Er softly replied. If Luo Xingqian and the others return, they will definitely inform us in advance. Before he finished speaking, a beautiful figure appeared in front of King Yanluo's palace. In an instant, she rushed into the main hall. When Mu Qianshang, Jian Er, and Madame Luofei saw her, they were all shocked. They cried out involuntarily, "Ah man!" The most unbelievable figure made the hearts of the people from the divine prefecture ripple. Why was Ah man here? He is injured now and is temporarily in seclusion to recuperate. So he asked me to come back and make arrangements for Buddha Mountain. Ah man looked at the people in front of her and said softly, "How are his injuries?" Mu Qianshang came back to his senses and asked, "Very serious. However, he has the origin of the divine tree protecting him. His life is not in danger. Don't worry." Ah man replied. "Who is this lady?" Hearing that knowledge destiny was fine, everyone heaved a sigh of relief. Madame Luoshen and Princess Erin smiled and asked. "Her name is Ah Man." Madame Luofei stepped forward and pulled Ah Man over. She introduced her to her friends from outside the divine prefecture. She is Knowledge Destiny's confidant. If Knowledge Destiny listens to anyone now, then this girl is definitely one of the few. Hearing the former's words, Ah Man did not refute. She smiled gently and nodded to everyone. She looked at the person beside her again and asked, "Sister Luofei, where is Yin Er? I heard from Ningqian that she also came from the central province." Madame Luofei pointed to the side hall not far away and said, "I heard that something happened to her master. She hid in her room and cried several times. No one can persuade her. Since you are here, help persuade her." Ah Man nodded lightly and said, "I will go see Yin Er first. I will not disturb your discussion." After saying that, Ah Man did not stay any longer. Leaving everyone looking at each other, she walked towards the side hall. Don't look anymore. This girl's thoughts are always jumping around. Even Knowledge Destiny can't keep up, let alone us. Madame Luofei said helplessly. Yi Xuan Miao and the others nodded. She was indeed special. She left before finishing 3 sentences. Moreover, it was obvious at a glance that she wanted to see Yin Er and was not using any excuses. In the side hall, in a tightly closed room, the sound of deliberately suppressed sobbing could be faintly heard. After 100 years, it was still as familiar as when she was a little girl 100 years ago. Ah Man stepped forward and gently knocked on the door. She said softly, "Yin Er, can I come in?" After saying that, there was a moment of silence. Then the door was opened with a creak. Yin Er, whose face was covered in tears, looked at the woman in front of her in shock. She immediately threw herself into the woman's arms and cried. "Little Master's wife, something happened to Master. Yin Er, be good. Don't cry. Your master is fine. I just came back from your master's place." Ah Man patted the head of the woman in her arms and softly said. When Yin heard this, she raised her head and reached out to wipe away her tears. "Really? Is master really all right?" Ah Man nodded. "He was injured and won't be able to return for a while. So, he asked me to come back and tell everyone that he is safe. At the same time, I will also tell them about the arrangements for the upcoming battle with the Buddhists. If he doesn't come back, can the Buddhists still survive?" Yin Er asked, sobbing. "They can't." Ah Man shook her head and softly replied. Chapter 9-10. At the intersection of the 3 domains was a vast continent. On the continent stood the 10 Yama halls, towering into the starry sky. In the Yama hall of the 10 Yama halls, the 10 Yama halls were discussing the great task of resisting the demons. From dawn to dusk, they were arguing endlessly. The upcoming battle would determine the survival of Buddhism. Once the all-heaven starfield was unified by the Demon Palace, the resources of the entire starfield would belong to the Demon Palace. The consequences would be unimaginable. However, to everyone's helplessness, the destruction of Buddhism was already an irreversible matter. The 4 protectors of the demon palace were all true experts of the world. Adding on the tens of thousands of demon soldiers, they could be said to be unstoppable. Apart from us, the great powers of the other starfields do not wish to provoke the demon palace. Although it is not wrong to play safe, if this continues, the demon palace's power will only grow stronger and stronger. At that time, no one will be able to stop them. Mu Qiansheng looked at the crowd and said solemnly. Knowing destiny is not here, Zi is injured, and we cannot expose our identities. Our strength is limited. It is already difficult for us to deal with the protectors of the demon palace, not to mention the demon palace's army of 100,000. Right now, the armies from all directions are gathered. No matter how many people we dispatch, it will only be a drop in the bucket. Yi Xuanmiao said seriously. Although that is the case, we cannot sit by and watch Buddhism be destroyed. Otherwise, all our efforts would have been in vain, said Luofei. Then dispatch 4 Yama kings who specialize in speed. If it is truly impossible, they can still escape in time and reduce the casualties, suggested Yi Xuanmiao. 4. Isn't that too few? Adding on Hua Zhongdia, the 4 protectors of the demon palace are now even stronger than before. We do not know if Jun Wentian will fight, or if we dispatch several more Yama kings, just in case, said Jian Er. Actually, you and I both know that dispatching several Yama kings will not change the current situation too much. Thus, I do not recommend exposing too much of our strength, said Yi Xuanmiao with a serious expression. While everyone was talking, in the side chamber, there were 2 young women who seemed to be of similar age, sitting on the bed and chatting with each other. Under the illumination of the lantern light, one was cunning, the other pure. Their temperaments were distinct and equally outstanding. Little mistress, aren't you going out? They should be discussing how to help Buddha Mountain right now. Yin took a piece of pastry from the small plate in front of her and put it in her mouth, speaking incoherently. Man also picked up a piece of pastry from the small plate, sniffed it, and stuffed it into her mouth. She said softly, "It's not time yet. Your master still wants me to wait for someone." Who? Yin took another piece and asked as she ate. You know him. Man was eating a pastry when she suddenly looked over and said, "She's here." Who is it? Little mistress, you haven't told me. Seeing the former get off the bed, Yin also jumped down and hurriedly asked. Oh, Queen Qi. Your master said that Queen Qi will definitely return before the war between the Buddhists begins. He told me to wait for her. A man replied and strode towards the main hall. Yin didn't quite understand what he was saying. She jogged over to join in the fun. In the main hall of the King of Hell, all the kings of hell also felt the tremors of the divine restriction. They all stood up and looked towards the front of the hall. Under everyone's gazes, a beautiful woman dressed as a man walked over. She looked at everyone in the hall and smiled. Sorry, I'm late. You're not late. A man walked over from the side hall and said softly, You came at the right time. Your Highness Queen Qi, please take a seat. Ning Chen has something to ask of you. Seeing the woman walking over, a strange look flashed through Lin Yuzhen's eyes. The peak of the true realm. It didn't seem like it. Half a step into the 4th realm. It also didn't seem like it. Such a powerful aura. This woman seemed to be infinitely close to the 4th realm. Knowing that everyone who could come here was absolutely trustworthy, Lin Yuzhen didn't ask any more questions. She walked to the table and sat down to wait for the arrangements. Ning Chen is injured and can't fight for the time being. However, the King of Hell has to be present for the Battle of Buddha Mountain. Otherwise, it will raise suspicions. Your Highness Queen Qi, it's not difficult for you to dress as a woman. I'll leave the position of King of Hell to you for the time being. A man looked at Queen Qi and said softly. A serious look flashed through Lin Yuzhen's eyes. She asked, How are his injuries? Are they serious? His life isn't in danger. Ah man truthfully said, his physique is special. There won't be any major problems. Your Highness, please don't worry. Lin Yuzhen nodded. I haven't asked for your name yet. My name is Ah Man. I also come from the Eastern Divine Prefecture of the Inner Realm, Ah Man said softly. The Inner Realm is truly a mystical land. There are actually so many geniuses of martial arts. Lin Yuzhen sighed as she looked at the people in front of her. Your Highness is too kind. Ah Man smiled softly. We can accept your Highness's words, but Ning Chen isn't worthy. Lin Yuzhen was startled. For a moment, she didn't react. Your Highness, you should get used to this girl's way of speaking. She never lies and her thoughts are always jumpy. It's normal that you're not used to it, Luo Fei said. Lin Yuzhen regained her senses and nodded. She was indeed not used to it. The people around Ji Ming were all unique. However, she liked this girl's aura. It was fresh and clean. It was as if she could see through her at a glance. Ah man, didn't you say that Ning Chen has other arrangements? Can you be more specific? Luo Fei looked at the girl beside her and asked softly. Ah man nodded. Other than Ning Chen's position being temporarily replaced by Prince Qi, we still need to dispatch 5 more Yama kings. Mu Qianshang, Luo Xingqian, Qi Yanxia, Yi Xuanmiao, and Luo Shen. The others will stay behind to guard. Aren't we sending a few more people? After all, we don't know if Jun Wentian will fight, Mu Qianshang asked. Jun Wentian won't show up. Ah man said softly. Ning Chen said that he can't fight even with the protection of the divine tree. Jun Wentian is the same. In addition, his demon body has been following him. If anything happens, he will inform us in advance. Hearing this, everyone nodded. This was good. If Jun Wentian didn't fight, the pressure on them would be greatly reduced. There's one more thing. If Butterfly in the Flower fights, how should we deal with it? Among us, only Ji Ming has fought with her. How strong is she now? Yi Xuanmiao asked seriously. At least, she won't lose to Moon Weaver and Bai Wangran. Ah man said softly. Ning Chen said that senior sister Butterfly didn't use her full strength in the previous battle. At this point, Ah man looked at Luo Shen and said softly, Sister Luo Shen, I'll have to trouble you this time. Senior sister Butterfly in the Flower cultivates the 9 Serenities heaven-devouring demon scripture. Once she uses it, she will forcefully devour the source of others. So, you must be careful. Luo Shen heard this and a strange light flashed in her eyes. 9 Serenities heaven-devouring demon scripture. It wasn't difficult to explain why Butterfly in the Flower had such a change. Oh right, Ning Chen asked me to give these 2 swords to Prince Qi. As she spoke, Ah man waved her right hand. 2 streams of light flew out, one black and one green, and landed in front of Prince Qi. Prince Qi shouldn't need to fight in this battle. After the previous 2 battles, the Devil Palace already knows the strength of the Yama Kings. As long as Prince Qi doesn't take the initiative to fight, the Devil Palace will not provoke him first, Ah man said. Lin Yuzhen took the 2 divine weapons and nodded, remembering Ah man's words. Is there anything else? Luo Fei asked. Ah man nodded. With a flip of her left hand, 2 letters appeared. One of them flew up and landed in front of everyone. These 2 letters, one is for everyone and the other is for Buddha Mountain's Heavenly Buddha Lord. Ning Chen didn't let me see it, so I don't know the contents. Ah man said warmly. Everyone looked at each other when they heard this. At the front, Mu Qiansheng waved his hand and took the letter. After reading it, he fell silent and passed the letter to the next person. No wonder Ji Ming didn't let Ah man see this letter. This arrangement was indeed the best way, but it was also the cruelest way. Behind him, stood on her tiptoes, wanting to see the contents of the letter, but Man gently hit her head and said softly, "Your master said that you can't see this letter either." Heard this and pouted. She knew that Ning Chen was lying to her when he said that she was a secret weapon. It sounded nice, but he didn't want her to know anything. "Everyone, the contents of this letter are Ning Chen's arrangements for the Battle of Buddha Mountain. If anyone has any objections, we can discuss them in detail. I'm going to Buddha Mountain to give this letter to Heavenly Buddha Lord and ask him some questions." After saying this, Man got up and didn't say another word. She glanced at the girl behind her and said softly, "Are you going?" "Yes." Nodded vigorously. "Then let's go now." Man gently said. She took Er's hand and walked out of the hall. In front of everyone's eyes, the two of them walked out of the hall. After several breaths, they disappeared into the moonlight. Outside the thousands of meteors, the divine restriction opened and the two of them walked out. This was the first time they had come out in over 10 months. Was in a good mood. She stretched and hugged the arm of the woman beside her. She complained coquettishly, "Little mistress is the best. Ning Chen never takes me when he goes out. It's so boring to be alone. Your master is busy. Furthermore, he always has important things to do when he goes out. He's afraid that it'll be dangerous if he takes you with him." "Your master really dotes on you," said Man gently. Pouted and said, "I know, but every time I say that I want to help him, he always brushes me off." "Little mistress, Ning Chen listens to you the most. Can you tell him that I really want to help him?" "All right." Man nodded. "I'll tell him. Furthermore, in a few days, your big sister Qing Ning will be here. If we manage him together, he won't dare to be disobedient. Your big sister Qing Ning is stronger than me. If Ning Chen is disobedient, I'll have her hit him." All right." Smiled happily. She didn't dare to hit her master. However, with her little mistress and big sister Qing Ning present, she could use their power to intimidate others. As the two of them spoke, they moved faster and faster, getting closer and closer to Buddha Mountain. The 100-day agreement was about to arrive. The final battle was not only related to the survival of Buddha Mountain, but also the future of the Great War against the devils. This battle was extremely important. On Buddha Mountain, the Heavenly Buddha Lord, who had been cultivating the Buddhist purification technique day and night, opened his eyes. Seeing the two women walking over, a strange light flashed in his eyes. "Buddha Lord." Man stepped forward and bowed respectfully. She softly said, "Ning Chen sent me to deliver a letter to Buddha Lord." Chapter 9:11. "Miss Man, may this old monk ask about your identity?" Heavenly Buddha Lord asked after reading the letter on Buddha Mountain. "Princess of Man Chao of the Eastern Continent," Man answered truthfully. "Has the King of Hell come again?" Heavenly Buddha Lord did not look too surprised and continued to ask. "Yes." Man nodded and said, "In the end, Ning Chen and the strong cultivators of the Divine Prefecture sent him back to the 7 Extinction Sky Realm. Ning Chen has been stained with millions of lives because of this catastrophe, and he still can't free himself." "I see." Heavenly Buddha Lord sighed softly and said, "Who is qualified to judge the merits and demerits of saving the world?" "Miss Man, this old monk will fully cooperate with Benefactor Ning's request in the letter." "Thank you, Buddha Lord." Man bowed respectfully and said, "One more question. Miss Man, is there a Buddhist sect in the inner world?" Heavenly Buddha Lord asked. "Yes." Man nodded and said, "The homeland of Western Buddha is mostly filled with Buddhist cultivators. Even though they don't have a supreme expert like the Buddhist Lord for now because of the Nether King barrier, it won't be long before numerous extraordinary experts of the Buddhist sect appear in the West. Then this old monk can rest assured." Heavenly Buddha Lord's old face showed a touch of relief and nodded. Buddha Mountain could be destroyed, but Buddhism's inheritance could not be broken. Otherwise, he would be a sinner of Buddhism. Buddha Lord, Ning Chen also has a question that he wants to ask, Ah Man said. Please ask, Heavenly Buddha Lord replied. The Buddhas of Buddha Mountain should be above the fourth realm. Why have they not helped Buddhism all this time? Ah Man asked softly. Gods have their world, Buddhas have their world, just like the seven extinction sky realm where Pluto is. My Buddha is also in a similar realm. It is almost impossible for him to come to the human world, Heavenly Buddha Lord answered truthfully. Above the fourth realm, can one really see what will happen 1,000 years later? Ah Man did not understand. Miss Ah Man, you should be asking about Miss Xia Xinyu who passed away. Since my Buddha said it is possible, then it is really possible. If a similar flower blooms in the world, it depends on whether benefactor Ning can find it, Heavenly Buddha Lord said calmly. Thank you, Buddha Lord, for answering my question. I have no other questions. Ah Man bowed again. Child, what do you want to ask? Heavenly Buddha Lord asked with a gentle smile when he saw the girl beside Ah Man, Buddha Lord. Obediently took a step forward and bowed. Can you help me calculate when I will be able to awaken my heaven speaker origin? I want to help my master. Heavenly Buddha Lord smiled and said, a pure child's heart is the most beautiful thing in the world. Little girl, you don't have to worry. The heaven speaker is the spokesperson of heaven and earth. When one heaven speaker disappears, another will soon appear. Generally, this time will not exceed 360 cycles. The reason why you have not awakened yet is because your body is not able to withstand the power of the heaven speaker. This matter cannot be solved in a hurry. Your master is the best master in the world, you just have to listen to his arrangements. One day, the glory of the heaven speaker will return to this world. I understand. Thank you, Buddha Lord, replied obediently. Is there anything else you want to ask? Heavenly Buddha Lord smiled. No. Shook her head. Be content, don't be greedy, good child, Heavenly Buddha Lord said kindly. Buddha Lord, we have already delivered the message. We won't disturb you any further. A man spoke softly from the side. Heavenly Buddha Lord nodded and said, when you go back, please tell benefactor Ning that I will have to trouble him with this demonic calamity. I will. Ah Man replied and did not say anything else. She took the girl beside her and stepped forward. Her figure soared into the sky and flew away. After the two left, Heavenly Buddha Lord looked at the thousands of disciples on Buddha Mountain and said, all of you, leave. On Buddha Mountain, thousands of white-robed novice monks trembled and opened their eyes to look at Heavenly Buddha Lord in the distance. At the same time, the 10 kings of hell walked out one by one and looked into the distance with serious expressions. Ji Ming's action was indeed shocking and abnormally bold. Aaron, your task from now on will be heavy, Luo Fei said in front of the rotating Will King's Hall. If you want to become a Buddha, you must bear this responsibility. In front of King Dusher's hall, King Aaron smiled brightly. To her, this was not a burden, but the best opportunity. Her guardian had given her the opportunity to become a Buddha. Outside the 10 kings of hell, in a place separated by Jiyuan, in a world of ice and snow, a plain-clothed figure sat cross-legged between heaven and earth, surrounded by wind and snow, day and night, recovering from his injuries. A few days later, outside the world of ice and snow, 2 beautiful figures walked over and stopped 100 feet away. Wanted to go forward but was stopped by a man who shook her head gently, indicating not to disturb. Did Heavenly Buddha Lord agree? At this moment, a familiar voice sounded between heaven and earth. He agreed. A man nodded. This time around, I've let the Buddhist sect down. As soon as the voice fell, between heaven and earth, a red light flew out and landed in front of the two. Give this sword to Mu Qiansheng. He will know what to do. The man answered softly and reached out to take the sword, saying, "Rest at ease and recover. Don't worry about Buddhism." Understood. A voice sounded between heaven and earth, continuing, What's wrong? What's wrong? Who made our little ancestor angry again? You. Puffed up her cheeks and said angrily. Ha! A soft laugh sounded, saying, "All right, be good. When Master recovers, he will return. At that time, he will accompany our You must keep your word." Said sweetly. "You must keep your word." In the snow, Ning Chin transmitted. We won't disturb your master's recovery. Let's go back first." Man said softly. Answered obediently, looking at the figure in the snow in front of her with reluctance, and then left with the former. 13 days later, outside Buddha Mountain, 100,000 troops arrived. The 4 armies of the Devil Army had arrived, and in the final battle, Buddha Mountain would be completely destroyed. Devil clouds pressed down, thunder and lightning flashed, and 3 figures descended from the sky, cold killing intent surging and piercing to the bone. Bai Wang ran, Moon Weaver Girl, and Butterfly in the Flower appeared. In an instant, the void swirled, and a figure in a blue brocade robe walked out. The Saint of the Devil Palace had personally arrived and appeared on the battlefield. Kill! With an order, Jia Tians waved his right hand, and the final battle between Buddha and Devil began. The 3 protectors accepted the order, and their figures flashed forward, rushing forward. Behind them, 100,000 Devil Army also moved, following the general to attack Buddha Mountain. On Buddha Mountain, looking at the endless Devil Army in the sky, Heavenly Buddha Lord's expression did not change at all. He got up and walked forward, and with each step, his appearance began to change, gradually returning to his youth. In front of thousands of Devil Army, he stood alone without fear. On the platform behind him, a cold wind blew, and a letter floated with the wind. Under the moonlight, the last sentence of the letter was so clear and dazzling. "The calamity of the Buddha kingdom is irreversible. For the sake of the great plan of resisting the Devil Army in the future, please die in peace, Buddha Lord." Chapter 9:12. The cold moon shone in the sky. Above Buddha Mountain, 100,000 demon soldiers pressed down, their power shaking the heavens. Below, Heavenly Buddha Lord stood alone, facing 100,000 demon soldiers alone. The head of the 3 protectors, Bai Wang Ran, appeared first. He raised his hand to summon the wind essence of heaven and earth. Strong winds and huge waves swept out, shocking the heavens and the stars. Hurricanes pressed down, destroying heaven and earth. Buddha is merciful. Heavenly Buddha Lord twisted his fingers, and golden Buddha light rose around him. The indestructible Vajra body showed its divine power, like a hurricane formed by thousands of blades. He was not hurt at all. Outside the battle, Moon Weaver's eyes turned cold. She waved her hand and a sword appeared, reversing the water and moon. She moved to unsheath the sword, the cold light threatening to kill. Heavenly Buddha Lord raised his hand to block the divine weapon. With a loud clang, the force of 1,000 tons hit him, and the void under his feet cracked inch by inch. He took the divine weapon's power head-on. Dance of butterflies, peace. The 2 sides were in a stalemate for a moment. 100 feet away, a soft voice sounded, and a black blade cut through the void. The shocking scene shook the heavens and the earth. In the strong winds and huge waves, Heavenly Buddha Lord raised his hand and blocked the blade. Buddha energy burst out, and the blade shattered. Heavenly Buddha Lord, the destruction of Buddha Mountain is irreversible. Why struggle so recklessly? Outside the battle, Jia Tians looked at the battle in front of him and said calmly. Slaying demons, defending the Tao, and protecting all living beings is the purpose of Buddhism. I dare not forget it. The Buddha's finger cleared, dispelling the demonic chi. In an instant, it was in front of demonic butterfly. Hua Zhongdie stepped back and dodged. After 100 feet, the demonic chi of burial flowers tears surged, and the two blades slashed down. With a loud bang, Hua Zhongdie took a few steps back, and a drop of blood flowed from the corner of her mouth. Buddha and demonic chi clashed, and she was injured for the first time. She wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth, and demonic butterfly rose to kill. Her sleeves spread and turned into a sky net, sealing off the entire battle. She stepped forward, and the blades spun in her sleeves. Black and white blade lights crisscrossed, and the killing moves came one after another. On the other side, Moon Weaver was also using the power of the divine weapon. Sword lights swept out, and every move was deadly. In the center of the battle, Heavenly Buddha Lord turned his palm to block the demonic chi. The more they fought, the more intense the battle became. Riding the wind. Just as the saber and sword were about to trap the Buddha, Bai Wangran, who was not far away, let out a soft cry. His genuine vitality was fully activated, and the 9 wind pearls soared into the sky. Fierce winds and huge waves swept across 1,000 miles. The vast palm power broke the wind and pressured the realm. The crisis was imminent. Blessed Buddha Lord flipped his palm and shook off the 2 demonic weapons. His eyes narrowed slightly as he formed a Buddha seal. The swastika appeared, and under the shocking light, it blocked the demonic attack. An earth-shattering tremor resounded as the Buddha and the demon grew and grew. Heavenly Buddha Lord reacted hastily and did not have enough chi to store up. Vermilion blood spurted out of his mouth and dyed his Buddha face red. On the other side, Bai Wangran was also struck by the aftershocks. He took half a step back, his blood and chi surging. 3 against 1, the generals of the Devil Palace found it hard to gain a clear advantage. They exchanged blows, using brute force to kill the Buddha. The tense situation was so tense that it was difficult for everyone to breathe. At this moment, the Yama Kings of Hell descended upon the mortal realm. Outside the battlefield, Jia Tians looked at the Yama Kings of the underworld descending from the sky and said coldly, "I've been waiting for you for a long time." As soon as he finished speaking, the black and white go pieces shot out like ink splashing through the air. The heaven-fixing game must defeat the Buddha's son. How could the Yama Kings mess up the game? The go pieces crisscrossed in the sky and lightning spread, forming a huge trap formation to trap the kings of the underworld. Lord Sacred Priest, the underworld will not lose to the same move twice. As he spoke, a red figure walked out from behind the battlefield. His face was covered with the evil face of the King of Hell. He waved his hand, and the sword light broke through the sky. With a boom, it hit the thousands of go pieces. Rumbling sounds rang out. In the trap, the 5 Yama Kings attacked simultaneously. They worked together to break the heaven-fixing game. Jia Tians turned around and looked at the Yama King in red in front of him. His eyes flashed coldly as he said, "Today, you still want to reverse the outcome of the Buddha Mountain's defeat? You are too naive. Everything depends on man. Man can conquer nature." The Yama King in red said lightly. He stepped forward and stood in front of the people in front of him. In the trap, rumbling sounds echoed through the universe. The 5 Yama Kings broke the formation and passed by each other. No one attacked the sacred priest of the Devil Palace. Instead, they rushed toward the battlefield. Jia Tians did not attack either. He quietly watched the 5 figures pass by. "The sacred priest does not seem to be in a hurry," the Yama King in red said. "What is there to be anxious about?" Jia Tians looked at the people in front of him and said calmly, "Just the 5 of you, how many devil army can you stop?" At this time, no conspiracy can change the outcome of the Buddha Mountain's destruction. The only difference is, how long can you last? Thunder rumbled in the sky. Black figures slowly descended. The aura of the 100,000 punitive expedition army covered the cold moon. "The sacred priest of the Devil Palace is really a detestable character," the Yama King in red said coldly. "Same to you," Jia Tians said indifferently. Behind the two, the 5 Yama kings joined the battle. Mu Qianshang blocked the third guardian of the Devil Palace, Moon Weaver. The third battle added to the tension. The ink sword realm opened and the battle began. The crisscrossing sword light moved with the mountains and rivers. The color of ink filled the entire sword realm. The layers of changes made it difficult to distinguish. Moon Weaver waved her sword to disperse the ink sword chi that came close to her. She looked at the constantly moving mountains and rivers around her. The killing intent in her eyes grew stronger. This person's moves were extremely strange. It was hard to tell what was real and what was fake. It restrained the ability to reverse the moon and water to the greatest extent. It was really annoying. Sword light flashed and cut through the ink. Suddenly, a green arrow light pierced through the air. Without any warning, it shot straight toward the woman's back. The danger came. Moon Weaver felt a chill on her back. She subconsciously turned to the side. The arrow light whizzed past her shoulder. With a rip, it tore her clothes and brought with it a dazzling waterfall of blood. Despicable. Seeing the figure of the Yama King appear behind her, Moon Weaver's expression darkened. How can I be despicable in a battle of life and death? Moreover, the invasion of the Devil Palace is a despicable act. The purple-robed Yama King took 2 steps forward. The 7-colored star Scar Divine Bow swallowed the arrow light and locked onto the former. Pincer attack, the killing intent on Moon Weaver's face grew colder and colder. It seemed that the Yama Kings of the underworld didn't just want to stop the destruction of Buddha Mountain. Just as the battle began, not far away, Yishuan Miao and Qi Yanxia blocked the second protector of the Devil Palace. The green moth whistled and the might of the Emperor's heavenly scripture shook the world. They alternated between offense and defense, forcefully delaying Bai Wangran. In the third battle, the god of the Luo River, Mi Fei, blocked the demonic butterfly alone. Every move she made resonated with the heavens and earth. The battle of laws and ultimate martial arts was dazzling and dazzling. In an instant, eternity reappeared. Born of the moon scroll, it formed its own comprehension of laws. It controlled time and space and sealed the demonic butterfly's body. After 100 years, they fought the god of the Luo River again. The opponent was the same, but the situation was completely different. The demonic butterfly's twin blades joined together. Flower burial condensed. Thousands of black butterflies danced, breaking through the restraints and sweeping toward the woman. Butterfly in the flower, wake up. You shouldn't have fallen like this. Purified samsara. The god of the Luo River raised her hand, and the shocking power of the second law reappeared. In the void, thousands of black butterflies were instantly swallowed up by time and space, leaving no trace behind. The body of a deity, the comprehension of laws that transcended mortals, and the body of the Luo River once again displayed its shocking ability. All the demons present were shocked, and their gazes involuntarily shifted. The body of a deity. Feeling the difference in the woman in front of him, Jia Tian's face flashed with surprise. There was a deity among the 10 kings of hell. Outside the battle, Heavenly Buddha Lord walked into the sky alone. Looking at the endless army of the Devil Palace, there was no change in his calm face. He had already made arrangements for the aftermath of Buddha Mountain. Today's destruction was for a better rebirth in the future. He believed in the promise of benefactor Ning, although he had never seen the Lady Buddha. Amitabha. A Buddhist chant resounded through the sky. Heavenly Buddha Lord stepped in front of the thousands of demons. His Buddha vitality was ignited. In an instant, the power of faith in the entire Buddha mountain gathered and returned to him. You want to risk your life? Difficult. The leader of the 100,000 demons, the 12 devil generals, looked cold. They turned their palms and condensed their vitality. Suddenly, the demonic power of the army continued to condense. The demonic clouds stirred and formed an unprecedented giant demon head. It was ferocious and terrifying, swallowing everything. Devil Sky Statue. The combined attack of the 100,000 demons was earth-shattering. In an instant, it surpassed the limits of heaven and earth and broke through the sun, moon, and darkness. The true power of the fourth realm was a terrifying move that gathered the power of the 12 devil generals and 100,000 demons. Although there was only one demon head, it was enough to make people feel breathless. Buddha is merciful, guides Ci Hang, Tathagata demon vanquishing seal. Heavenly Buddha Lord's hands moved, and the Buddhist sect's forbidden Jingfa appeared in the world for the first time. Suddenly, the Tathagata statue appeared in the 9 heavens. The Buddha's palm turned, and the supreme power of Buddha descended. The ancient demons and the Tathagata statue crossed the endless time and space and once again clashed in the world. In an instant, the aurora was dazzling, illuminating the whole night sky. Ugh! In the sky, there was a muffled groan. The Buddha's light shone, and the demonic waves were thousands of miles away. Tens of thousands of demons disappeared between heaven and earth. In front of the demons, the demonic aura surged and entered the Buddha's body. Heavenly Buddha Lord retreated, his Buddhist robe stained red. He was seriously injured. The leader of the 12 devil generals, a man in purple armor, looked coldly at the Buddha in front of him and sneered. "One move for one move, Buddha, how many more moves can you block?" Heavenly Buddha Lord can only block 3 moves. After 3 moves, I will take your life. In front of the demons, Heavenly Buddha Lord condensed his finger again. In front of everyone's eyes, thousands of swastikas rose, magnificent, forming 4 solemn holy walls. Seeing this, the 12 devil generals turned their palms, and the tens of thousands of demons behind them once again urged their yuan to help. The billowing demonic aura swept in all directions. Above the demons, the ancient demon added another arm, and a giant fist fell, crashing into the 4 holy walls. The Buddha and the demons clashed again, and the raging waves swept across the sky. The terrible impact spread rapidly, and in an instant, the demons were scattered. The holy power slayed the demons, and tens of thousands of demons disappeared again. In front of the demons, Heavenly Buddha Lord took a few steps back, blood flowing from his body. At the end of the Buddha's path, the saint's heart had no regrets. I have done all I can. Benefactor Ning, from now on, the world is in your hands. His last words were still about the suffering of all living beings. Heavenly Buddha Lord released all his vitality, and in an instant, a shocking scene appeared. Thousands of lotuses rose into the sky, and another world was opened. Chapter 9:13. On Mount Shumi, the battle between Buddha and demon ended. Heavenly Buddha Lord released his blood origin, and the 10,000 Lotus Buddha realm appeared for the first time. Retreat. Outside the 3-way battle, Shurxian was prepared. The Yama kings immediately retreated out of Mount Shumi. Something's wrong. Jia Tians saw this and waved his hand to summon chess pieces. Thousands of black and white chess pieces flew into the sky, blocking the 10,000 Lotus Buddha light. With a loud bang, the 10,000 Lotus Buddha light collided with the black and white chess pieces. The violent collision resounded throughout Mount Shumi, and the Buddha realm shook, showing signs of instability. At this moment, the ground rumbled again. Countless red lights shot into the sky, and the immortal trapping revealed its divine power. Borrowing the chi of Mount Shumi, it killed the demons. Immortal trapping. Jia Tian's expression changed slightly. He stepped into the air, and with a flip of his palm, a demonic net spread out, blocking the power of the immortal trapping. Heaven and earth worked together, and the immortals and Buddhas killed the demons. The black and white chess pieces and the demonic silkworm spider web resisted for a moment before shattering. In the next moment, a terrifying scene occurred. Between heaven and earth, the 10,000 Lotus Buddha light and the immortal trapping sword's light crisscrossed, and the entire Buddha realm turned into hell. Endless killing aura spread, and the demons cried out, suffering heavy casualties. Everyone, thank you. In the Buddha realm, Heavenly Buddha Lord looked at the Yama kings in front of him, and a smile appeared on his face. For the last time, he looked at the mortal world with no regrets. Outside Mount Shumi, the Yama kings bowed together, sending off the Buddha Lord. Luoshen, it's up to you now. Among the 6 Yama kings, Mu Qiansheng spoke calmly. Luoshen nodded and waved her hand. Suddenly, 1,000 miles away, a river flew up, and 3,000 weak reed flowers sank. Knowing destiny's previous arrangement had shown its effect today. The weak water turned into rain, and it flew into the 10,000 Lotus Buddha realm. Heaven and earth were extremely poisonous, and even the gods and Buddhas did not dare to touch this place. The rain fell, and Mount Shumi turned into hell. Ah! Shrill screams were heard. The weak water rain fell on the demons, and although it was not fatal, the intense pain was hard to suppress. It spread along their meridians, and it made them go crazy. Outside 10,000 Lotus Buddha realm, the Yama kings looked at this miserable scene, and they could not help but shiver. Once Xi Ming decided to be ruthless, he would stop at nothing. Don't think too much about it. Xi Ming had personally experienced this kind of pain before. The poison of the yellow springs flower is 100 times stronger than the weak water. If he is so ruthless to himself, what more to his enemies? Mu Qiansheng said with a cold expression. He's a lunatic. Luo Xingqian felt a chill down his spine when he saw the miserable state of the devil army in the myriad Lotus Buddha world. Can this barrier keep them here? Qi Yanxia suppressed the waves in her heart and asked. No. Mu Qiansheng gently shook his head. Even with the Heavenly Buddha Lord's Buddha world and the power of the immortal trapping divine prohibition, it is impossible to kill the Devil Palace's Saint Arbiter and the 3 protectors. However, it is still possible to trap them for a while. Now, what we need the most is time. I didn't expect Heavenly Buddha Lord to be willing to choose this ending. It's really admirable. Qi Yanxia sighed softly. Maybe Xi Ming promised him something. No matter what, this is the best outcome. Giving up Buddha Mountain and inflicting heavy damage to the Devil Palace. At least, we did not lose too much. Mu Qiansheng said calmly. Qi Yanxia was silent. A general success was built on thousands of bones. Although it was cruel, there were many times when there was no other choice. Although she was born in the royal family, she still could not be as resolute as Xi Ming. Sometimes, she could not imagine how a person who loved someone could be so ruthless. Just as Buddha Mountain was destroyed and thousands of devils were trapped, far away in the endless space, on a life planet covered in ice and snow, a silhouette in plain clothes silently opened her eyes. She got up and bowed respectfully in the direction of Buddha Mountain, bidding farewell to the current Buddha Mountain Lord. Why? Are you regretting it? The void swirled and a pink figure walked out. She always had a charming smile on her face. Although she was a Lady Buddha, she looked more like a demon. Feeling the aura of the person who came, Ning Chen was not too surprised. He straightened up and looked at her and said calmly, since I have arranged today's situation, I will not regret it. Aaron, the responsibility of rebuilding the Buddha kingdom in the future will be handed over to you. You are the Lady Buddha, the best candidate. It is my pleasure. Aaron Ming Wang showed a bright smile and said, is this your purpose for asking Heavenly Buddha Lord to dismiss the disciples of Buddha Mountain? Yes. Ning Chen nodded and said, the Buddha kingdom cannot be destroyed. Heavenly Buddha Lord is the symbol of the Buddha kingdom. No matter what, he will not be able to escape this disaster. However, his disciples can. Now that the Devil Palace is trapped in Buddha Mountain, the thousands of disciples of Buddha Mountain have time to hide their whereabouts. When the Buddha kingdom is rebuilt, they will be your greatest help. Thank you, Lord Ning. Aaron Ming Wang bowed and said with a smile. Rebuilding the Buddha kingdom was a great merit. Once it was successful, the merit and faith she would obtain would be enough for her to see the opportunity to enter the 4th realm. Ning Chen did not say anything more. He sat down and continued to heal his injuries. Lord Ning, do you have any instructions for the future arrangements? Aaron Ming Wang asked softly. Wait. In the wind and snow, a voice transmission sounded. After that one word, there was nothing else. Aaron Ming Wang's eyes flashed. She nodded and did not ask any more questions. Her figure faded and disappeared in the wind and snow. In the underworld continent, in the Yama Palace, the Yama kings had not returned. In the palace, and Ah Man sat in front of a table filled with pastries. It was a dazzling sight. Little mistress, let's go and see Ning Chen again. Said while stuffing pastries into her mouth. Let's not. A man shook his head and said, he's protected by the quintessence of the undying divine tree, so it won't take long for his injuries to recover. He'll naturally return once he's recovered, so we'll just disturb him if we keep heading over. Oh. Replied softly. She looked at the person in front of her and said, Little mistress, why do you not seem worried about the situation of Buddha Mountain? Because the outcome of Buddha Mountain can no longer be changed. Ah Man said softly, although your master is powerful, he is not omnipotent. Now, Buddha Mountain might have perished. However, the demon palace will not have it easy either. Hearing this, Er's expression shook, revealing a look of astonishment. Just as the two finished talking, in the sky above the 10 palaces, there was a rumble. The stars shifted and the Yama kings returned one by one. In front of the Yama palace, everyone walked over and took off their masks, revealing familiar faces. Stood up and looked at everyone curiously, waiting for an answer. Seeing the little girl's expectant gaze, Mu Qianshang sighed in his heart and said, Buddha Mountain has perished. The demon palace has suffered heavy losses. When heard that, the surprise in her eyes grew. She turned to look at the woman in front of her. Her eyes flashed with surprise. So, little mistress knew everything. She was just cooperating with master by not asking and not saying anything. Chapter 9:14. 10,000 lotuses bloomed on Buddha Mountain. The magnificent battle of killing the demons had ended. Heavenly Buddha Lord had sacrificed himself in the battle, trapping all the demons in Buddha Mountain. 1 day, 2 days. In the 10,000 lotus world of Buddha, nearly half of the army had been killed. Demon bones covered the entire Buddha Mountain, glaring and hair-raising. The once prosperous Buddha Mountain had now become a forbidden land of death. Corpses were everywhere, and there was no trace of the past. In the void, 10,000 lotuses shone with Buddhist light. The 12 demon generals and tens of thousands of demon soldiers worked together to resist the Buddhist power. Below, the immortal trapping sword Qi crisscrossed, and the 3 protectors used their power to resist the red light. For 10 whole days, the 10,000 lotus world of Buddha trapped all the demons. No one could leave. Jia Tians stood in the sky, looking at the killing trap set up by Heavenly Buddha Lord and the 9th son of Mahist sect. The coldness in his eyes became more and more piercing. Since the immortal trapping sword had appeared here, it meant that Heavenly Buddha Lord and the 9th son of Mahist sect had planned this before the battle. Heavenly Buddha Lord was willing to make such a huge sacrifice, which made him look at him in a new light. However, the destruction of Buddhism was an established fact. Although the price paid by the demon palace was beyond their expectations, it was worth it. Jia Tians looked up at the 10,000 lotuses floating in the sky. The purification technique of Buddhism was indeed worthy of its reputation. However, how long could a formation supported by Buddha blood last? Saint Arbiter. Below, Moon Weaver waved her sword, creating a waterfall of red light. Then, she stepped into the air and said, if this continues, all the demon soldiers will be buried here. Can you send a message to Elder Brother and ask him to come and break the formation? June Wentian. Jia Tians retracted his gaze and looked at the woman in front of him. He said calmly, he should have known that we were trapped here. Since he didn't appear, it means that his injuries haven't healed. Or perhaps, he's been stopped by someone. Saint Arbiter, what do you mean? Moon Weaver frowned. Jun Wentian's injuries aren't light, and it's hard to say whether he's fully recovered or not. Even if he's fully recovered, the Yama Kings of Hell wouldn't have thought that he would come to break the formation. Therefore, the moment Jun Wentian appears, the Yama Kings of Hell will definitely intercept him in advance. At this point, Jia Tians looked at the barefooted woman in blue below and said calmly, "Don't worry, as long as Butterfly in the Flower is still here, this formation is not a dead end. The ninth son of Mahist sect and Heavenly Buddha Lord are just trying to buy time. This is all they can do now." Holy Arbiter, have the ninth son of Mahist Gate and the Yama Kings of the Underworld joined forces? Moon Weaver asked worriedly. It's only a matter of time. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. With the intelligence of the ninth disciple of Mahist sect, there's no way he doesn't know this principle. The Kings of Hell also know the gap between Hell and my Devil Palace. If they can get such a helper, they naturally won't refuse, Jia Tians said indifferently. Moon Weaver heard this and clenched her fists. If she had known this would happen, she wouldn't have let this man live in the ancient battlefield. Don't worry too much. If you want to raise a tiger, you have to be prepared. The ninth son of Mahist sect helped my Devil Palace get rid of the Sword Pavilion and Kirin Pavilion. In the end, the benefits outweigh the disadvantages. Today's result is still acceptable, Jia Tians said indifferently. Just as the demons were trapped in the Thousand Lotus Formation for nearly 20 days, far away in the endless starry sky, on a life planet that was covered in snow all year round, a plain-clothed figure who had been sitting cross-legged in the wind and snow stood up. His eyes looked into the distance, and a moment later, he disappeared. On the 23rd day of Mount Shumi, the phoenix flew over. In front of Mount Shumi, the phoenix appeared. The red light disappeared, and the plain-clothed figure walked out. Looking at the miserable situation in the formation, there was no trace of pity on his face. In the Thousand Lotus world of Buddha, Jia Tians looked at the plain-clothed young man in front of him. His calm eyes revealed a faint brilliance. He said, "I want to know, how did you persuade Heavenly Buddha Lord to give up the entire Mount Shumi? When the Devil Palace is destroyed, I will tell you the reason," Ning Qin said indifferently. "That's a pity, we won't have the chance," Jia Tians said calmly. Just as the two were talking, on top of Mount Shumi, there was no movement at all. Suddenly, the light of Buddha shone brightly. A golden path of Buddha spread out from the top of the mountain, directly in front of Jiming. Ning Qin, Jia Tians, and the other demons were all stunned. They looked at Mount Shumi in the distance. After a moment of surprise, outside Mount Shumi, Ning Qin collected his thoughts and stepped onto the path of Buddha. He walked step by step toward Mount Shumi in the distance. Buddha. On Mount Shumi, Ning Qin bowed respectfully and said. As soon as he finished speaking, a golden light gathered in the void. In an instant, a solemn Buddha statue appeared. It was hundreds of feet tall and majestic. "Young man, I haven't seen you for decades. You are different now," the Buddha statue said calmly in the void. "I have experienced too many life and death separations. I have to grow," Ning Qin said softly. "Young man, in the end, you still can't get over the separation of life and death in the world?" The Buddha said. "Ji Ming was born as a mortal. In this life, I will never be able to get over it," Ning Qin replied. "You are not immortal. You are originally the person closest to God in this world. What you need is to let go. This is just a matter of a thought for you," the Buddha continued. "If I let go, then what is the point of living? Buddha, if I want to become a god, then I have to give up everything in the world." "Ji Ming is willing to give it up," Ning Qin said respectfully. "Idiot." The Buddha sighed softly and said, "The Buddha kingdom has been destroyed. I don't have much time left in this world. I can't help you with anything. Take this last thing as a token of my appreciation for helping to rebuild the Buddha kingdom in the future." As soon as he finished speaking, the Buddha statue gradually disappeared. The starlight in the sky condensed into a sarira and slowly sank into the body of the plain-clothed young man. Ning Chen focused and felt the golden sarira that suddenly appeared in his Dan heart. After a moment, he collected his thoughts and turned to leave. In front of Mount Shumi, Ning Chen looked back at the demons in the Thousand Lotus world of Buddhism and said calmly, "Everyone, we will meet again in the future." As soon as he said that, the wind and snow swept and the plain-clothed young man disappeared. In the Thousand Lotus world of Buddhism, Jia Tian's looked at the distant Mount Prayer and narrowed his eyes. Was that the Buddha kingdom's Buddha? What did he say to the ninth disciple of Moism? At the border of the three domains, a plain-clothed young man appeared in front of thousands of meteorites. He waved his hand and dispersed the divine restriction. Then, he walked into it. In the underworld's 10 halls, the Yama kings sensed something and walked out. When they saw the young man, they all breathed a sigh of relief. Seeing that he was fine, they were relieved. "Sorry for making everyone worry," Ning Chen said softly. Ning Chen said softly as he walked towards the King Yenlua's palace. "Everyone, please come over for a chat. I have something to discuss with everyone." In front of the various halls, everyone nodded. Their figures flashed and arrived before the King Yama Palace. In the King Yama Palace, the Yama kings took their seats. Ning Chen looked at them and said seriously, "Everyone, the Thousand Lotus world of Buddhism and the immortal trapping sword can only trap the Devil Palace for 10 more days. In the next few months, the Devil Palace will completely unify the All-Heaven Starfield. In other words, our battlefield will have to shift." Mu Qiansheng said, "The Devil Palace will definitely not stop after the All-Heaven Starfield is unified. However, there are many starfields bordering the All-Heaven Starfield. We can't predict which one they will attack next. The Spirit Void Starfield has the G family and the Nether Hall at the edge of the starfield. The Devil Palace probably doesn't want to face these two great inheritances. Therefore, the Spirit Void Starfield can be eliminated. As for the Red Luan, Sky Mist and Z-Way Starfields, the Devil Palace can choose to attack any one of them," Ning Chen said calmly. "Ji Ming, what if the Devil Palace's next target is the Z-Way Starfield?" Luo Xingqian asked. The inner world was in the territory of the Z-Way Starfield. Once the Z-Way Starfield fell, the secret of the inner world would be exposed. "That's not very likely." Ning Chen shook his head and said, "The Z-Way Starfield has the Heaven's Equal Pavilion, which is equally famous as the Heaven Mending Sect and Sword Pavilion. The Heaven's Equal Pavilion has always been low-key and mysterious. The Devil Palace, which just experienced a great battle, shouldn't choose to face another ancient inheritance so quickly. However, this is only my guess and cannot be confirmed. Other than the Spirit Void Starfield and Z-Way Starfield, the most likely targets would be the Sky Mist Starfield and the Red Luan Starfield," Mu Qiansheng said. Ning Chen nodded and said, "Currently, the Sky Mist Starfield and the Red Luan Starfield are about the same in strength. However, according to my guess, the Devil Palace will most likely choose the Red Luan Starfield this time." "Why?" Luo Xingqian asked. "Because of the Heaven Mending Pavilion," Ning Chen replied. "The Heaven Mending Pavilion suffered a great loss and is not as strong as before. Furthermore, after the last battle, it can be confirmed that there is no 4th-level cultivator in the Heaven Mending Pavilion. Therefore, the Devil Palace will not let go of this opportunity to swallow the Heaven Mending Pavilion in one fell swoop. If this is really the case, it is not good news for us." Mu Qiansheng said with a serious expression, "The Heaven Mending Pavilion's current strength is far inferior to the Buddha Kingdom. Even with our help, I am afraid that they will not be able to resist the Devil Palace for long. It is better to rely on ourselves than to rely on others." Luo Xingqian said in a low voice, "Knowing Destiny in the Heaven Mending Pavilion already have a big grudge against each other. Why should we deal with them? The situation now is not the time to talk about personal grudges." Qi Yanxia said from the side, "The Devil Palace is powerful. Even though they suffered a great loss this time, it is not a serious injury. Moreover, the Devil Palace still has an unknown master of the Devil Palace who has not appeared. With our strength, it is not enough to face the Devil Palace head-on. Borrowing an external force like the Heaven-Mending Pavilion is our only choice. Miss Qi is right. Xingqian, the grudge between the Heaven-Mending Pavilion and I need not be bothered with it for the time being. Moreover, we are now in the dark and do not need to use our real identities to deal with the Heaven-Mending Pavilion. As long as we can borrow their strength, any grudge can be dealt with in the future, Ning Qin said calmly. Luo Xingqian heard this and snorted coldly, saying, "You are the most tolerant. I don't care, you can do whatever you want. However, with the Heaven-Mending Pavilion's previous actions, you must be mentally prepared to deal with them." I understand. Ning Qin nodded and replied softly. Chapter 9:15. Underworld Mainland, King Yama Palace. After nearly 2 hours of discussion, everyone left one after another, temporarily returning to their respective palaces. Before leaving, Madame Luo paused. She looked at the plain-clothed young man and said, "Ji Ming, don't do such dangerous things in the future." Ning Qin was startled for a moment before a gentle smile appeared on his face. He said, "Madame Luo, I won't do anything I'm not sure of. Don't worry." Madame Luo was silent for a moment before she softly said, "Zi wouldn't want you to trade your life for his. We are the same. If there is anything in the future, you can discuss it with us. Don't always shoulder it by yourself." Understood. Ning Qin smiled and said, "I will remember." Madame Luo nodded. Without another word, she turned and left. After everyone left, a man walked out from the side hall. She looked at the person in front of her and gently smiled. Big sister Luo Fei seems unhappy. Ha! Ning Qin chuckled. Luo Fei is the sect daughter of the Eternal Night God cult. She is much more arrogant than the average person. Over the years, Luo Fei's sharpness has been restrained. However, I still remember when she questioned me in the starry night because of her father. That aggressive aura is really nostalgic. Time really passes quickly. A man stepped forward and gently stroked the face of the person in front of her. 100 years have passed. Everything has changed. Her walked out from the side hall. When she saw the two of them, she quickly covered her eyes and muttered, "I didn't see anything. I didn't see anything." A man smiled and withdrew her hand. There wasn't any embarrassment on her beautiful face. She liked him. This was a fact that would never change in her life. There was no need to hide it from anyone. Ning Qin looked at the girl in front of the side hall and helplessly smiled. Don't be naughty." Giggled and released her hand. She ran over and hugged his arm. "Ning Qin, you promised to accompany me. You can't go back on your words." Ning Qin nodded. "Haven't you always wanted the identity of a king of hell? I have a task for you. Go and borrow your big sister Erin's mask and I'll take you out to play." Er's eyes brightened. Really? Really? Ning Qin nodded. "I'll go now." Responded, released her hand, and ran out of the hall. "You want to bring her there?" Man asked. "There won't be any danger this time. It's good to bring this girl along to gain some experience." Ning Qin replied. "Are you confident?" The Devil Palace's army is still trapped on Buddha Mountain. Whether or not they will attack Hongwan Star Field is still unknown. Will Heaven Mending Pavilion believe your words? Man said softly. Whether they believe it or not is not up to them. A faint smile appeared on Ning Chen's face as he said, "Even if the Devil Palace's next target isn't Hongwan Star region, we still have to make the Heaven Mending Pavilion believe that the Devil Palace has such a plan." "You mean to say that you want Heaven Mending Pavilion to draw fire onto itself?" Man asked. Ning Chen nodded and said, instead of guessing what the Devil Palace will do next, why don't we draw the flames of war in the direction we want them to go? Heaven Mending Pavilion is a target we can use. With them as bait, our chances of success will be a bit higher. You're too bad. Wild said softly. I had no choice, Ning Chen said helplessly. You just have to be careful. A gentle smile appeared on Ah Man's face as she said, if there's anything you need my help with, just tell me. Right now, I also have the ability to help you. Ning Chen nodded and said, I know. However, there's no need for you to do anything right now. You can stay here at ease. And I will be back soon. Okay. Ah Man replied softly and said, you can go. Ning Chen, I borrowed it. At this moment, ran back from the front of the palace. She held the Yama mask she borrowed from the Dusher Imperial Palace as she shouted. Go quickly. Don't make this girl wait too long. Seeing the little girl's anxious appearance outside the palace, Ah Man smiled and said. Ning Chen replied softly and smiled. Without further delay, he walked out of the palace. Went up and hugged the former's arm. Seeing that Little Master's wife did not follow, she was puzzled and said, is Little Master's wife not going? She doesn't like this kind of situation. Master is going to deceive people this time. After we arrive, you can't speak carelessly. Ning Chen smiled and instructed. Okay. Hurriedly nodded and said, I will definitely be obedient. If you don't allow me to speak, I won't say a single word. Ning Chen smiled and said, there's no need for you to not say a single word. The Heaven Mending Pavilion doesn't know much about us. Thus, they are still on guard against us. If a little girl like you who doesn't know the severity of her words unintentionally reveals something, I think it might be even more believable than my heavenly embellishments. I don't understand. Pouted. There's no need to understand. I'll teach you when the time comes. Ning Chen said with a smile. As the two of them spoke, the divine restriction above the 10 palaces opened. After a short moment, the two of them walked out and rapidly flew towards the Hong-1 starfield. At the same time, in the All-Heaven Starfield's demon region, a black-clothed, black-haired figure was standing quietly. His demonic aura was faintly discernible, making it impossible for others to see through him. Ahead stood a majestic palace. Jun Wentian was sitting cross-legged within the palace. He had not come out for several tens of days. Head Protector. An illusory figure appeared before the palace. He bowed respectfully and said, the Sage Arbiter and the 3 protectors have been trapped for over 20 days. The Demon Master ordered the Head Protector to go and rescue them. Got it. You can withdraw first. Inside the palace, Jun Wentian replied indifferently. Head Protector. Seeing that the person inside the palace still gave the same answer, the illusory figure outside the palace revealed an anxious expression and spoke again. Withdraw. Inside the palace, Jun Wentian spoke again. This time around, his tone was much colder. Before the palace, the illusory figure's body trembled. He did not dare to say anything and bowed respectfully before disappearing. 300 meters outside the palace, the black-clothed, black-haired figure was still standing there quietly. He was looking at the person inside the palace without moving in the slightest. Jun Wentian raised his gaze and looked outside the palace. He said, Friend, although I am still unable to see you, I have been able to sense your existence these days. You've waited for so many days, why don't you come in and have a seat? Outside the palace, the black-clothed figure did not move in the slightest. Just like how he had been for several tens of days, he was quietly watching. You should be someone from the underworld, right? I truly never expected that there would be an expert like you in the underworld. To be able to remain in the demon region for so long without being discovered, you are the first person in the past several tens of thousands of years. Jun Wentian said calmly. You flatter me. Outside the palace, the black-clothed figure spoke for the first time. Inside the palace, hearing that, Jun Wentian smiled lightly. He said, "In the time that I was unable to detect you, you must have already obtained what you wanted. Why are you still staying here? To stop you from leaving." Outside the palace, the black-clothed figure spoke with an indifferent expression. Chapter 9:16. In the Red Luan Star region, the phoenix spread its wings and flew towards Heaven Mending Pavilion. In front of Heaven Mending Pavilion, the red light dissipated and two figures appeared. Their faces were covered with Yama's evil faces and their auras were concealed. "Ning Chen, does Heaven Mending Pavilion really not have a fourth realm?" Looked at the ancient inheritance and asked. "I was worried that there was, but now I'm worried that there isn't one," Ning Chen said softly. "Then is there one or not?" Continued to ask. "There shouldn't be one." Ning Chen shook his head and said, "When we fought with Heaven Mending Pavilion before, we didn't dare to push them too far because we were worried that there was a fourth realm existence in Heaven Mending Pavilion. Later on, from the situation of Buddha Mountain, Sword Pavilion, and Demon Palace, the possibility of a fourth realm existence is very slim. Perhaps there really was a fourth realm existence in Heaven Mending Pavilion a long time ago, but the possibility of it still being alive is less than 1 in 10. While the two were talking, the disciples of Heaven Mending Pavilion in front of them flew over. When they saw the two people, they were on guard. Yama of Hell requests an audience with Heaven Mending Pavilion Master. Under the Yama mask, Ning Chen looked at the Heaven Mending Pavilion disciples in front of him and said. When the people of Heaven Mending Pavilion heard this, their expressions became serious. "People of Hell, please wait for a moment." One of the Heaven Mending Pavilion disciples cupped his fist and said, then turned around and flew towards Heaven Mending Pavilion. One person went forward to ask for orders, while the rest of the people were still on guard. The name of Hell was like thunder in their ears these days. It was a mysterious existence that could contend with Demon Palace. Every one of the 10 Yama Kings was a top expert. Not long after, the Heaven Mending Pavilion disciple who went to ask for orders returned. Looking at the two people, he bowed respectfully and said, "Pavilion Master invites you. Please follow me." "Thank you." Ning Chen replied softly and followed with the servant beside him. Heaven Mending Pavilion. The Heaven Mending Pavilion disciple who led the way bowed again and left first. Inside the temple, Heaven Mending Pavilion Master sat on the main seat. Below him, the elders of Heaven Mending Pavilion were all present. Looking at the two people who walked over, their expressions were all different. Yama of Hell greets Pavilion Master. Ning Chen stepped forward and cupped his fist and bowed. On the main seat, the Heaven Mending Pavilion Master looked at the red-clothed Yama below. After staring at him for a moment, he smiled and said, "There is no need to be so courteous." "Yes." 4 Heaven Mending Pavilion disciples walked in and brought over 2 seats, placing them across from the Heaven Mending Pavilion elders. "Thank you, Pavilion Master." Ning Chen responded and brought Air to sit down. "I wonder why these 2 esteemed guests have come to my Butian Pavilion today." On the main seat, the Butian Pavilion Master spoke. "Alliance." Ning Chen didn't beat around the bush and spoke frankly about the purpose of his visit. "Oh." When the Heaven Mending Pavilion Master heard this, he revealed a strange expression and asked, "How do we form an alliance, and why do we need to form an alliance?" "Pavilion Master, you should know very well that the Demon Palace has already captured Buddha Mountain. It is only a matter of time before they unify the All-Heaven Starfield. The Demon Palace's ambition is most definitely not limited to this. Their next step will most definitely be to dispatch more troops. The Heaven Mending Pavilion's Red Luan Starfield is adjacent to the All-Heaven Starfield. If the Heaven Mending Pavilion does not make preparations, it will likely become a second Buddha Mountain," Ning Chen said with a smile. "How dare you? On the other side, a heaven-mending pavilion elder revealed an angry expression and said, "You actually dare to compare my heaven-mending pavilion with the already destroyed Buddha mountain. What are your intentions? Do not be rude." On the main seat, the heaven-mending pavilion master raised his hand and stopped the elder from continuing. He looked down at the red-clothed Yama and calmly said, "Why are you so certain that the demon palace will attack the Red One starfield next? The Red One starfield is not the only starfield adjacent to the All-Heaven starfield." Pavilion Master is correct. The Red One starfield is indeed not the only starfield adjacent to the All-Heaven starfield. However, it is the most likely starfield that the Demon Palace will choose, Ning Chen said indifferently. "Oh. Why do you say that?" the heaven-mending pavilion master asked with a frown. "The starfields adjacent to the All-Heaven starfields are the Spirit Void, Red Luan, Sky Mist and Z-Wei. The Spirit Void is overseen by the Ji family and the Nether Hall. It is the strongest of the 4 starfields. At such a time, it is practically impossible for the Demon Palace to choose the Spirit Void." "Pavilion Master, you won't deny this, right?" Ning Chen asked. "Indeed." The heaven-mending pavilion master nodded and said, "Although the Demon Palace is powerful, they are unwilling to face the Ji family and the Nether Hall at once. However, even if that is the case, there is still the Sky Mist and Z-Wei starfields. Why is your excellency so certain that the Demon Palace will choose the Red One starfield? Choosing 1 out of 3 is originally a possibility." Below his seat, Ning Chen revealed a smile and said, "However, with the current situation, the possibility of the Demon Palace choosing the Red One starfield is probably not 1 out of 3. Speaking up to here, Ning Chen paused for a moment and said, "Pavilion Master, have you noticed who is in charge of the northern expedition of the Demon Palace?" The first guardian of the Demon Palace, Jun Wentian, the heaven-mending pavilion master said with a slightly serious expression. "That's right." Ning Chen reached out and picked up the tea on the table and said, "I believe there is no need for me to remind you which starfield is adjacent to the All-Heaven starfield. Pavilion Master, could it be that you think the Demon Palace's arrangement is just a coincidence?" The heaven-mending pavilion master's face darkened when he heard this, but he did not answer. Ning Chen smiled and did not mind. He continued, "Now that the Demon Palace's army is trapped in Buddha Mountain, Jun Wentian still did not lend a hand. What is he planning? Jun Wentian is already injured. Even if he does not lend a hand, what is so strange about it?" The heaven-mending pavilion master said in a deep voice. "Is Jun Wentian's injury really that serious? Or does Jun Wentian have something more important to do?" Ning Chen smiled and said, "Pavilion Master, these days, the 10 kings of hell have been on guard against the first guardian of the Demon Palace. Unfortunately, they have not been able to meet him in front of Buddha Mountain. If you want to say something, just say it. Why beat around the bush?" The heaven-mending pavilion master said with an even more serious expression. "Then I will be frank." Ning Chen took a sip of tea and said indifferently, "Pavilion Master should know that the person in charge of the Demon Palace is the Demon Master who has not shown himself. Now that the Saint of the Demon Palace is trapped, logically speaking, the Demon Master should have sent someone to rescue her. However, Jun Wentian has not shown up yet, which is thought-provoking. No one would believe that it could make the Demon Palace temporarily give up on rescuing the Saint of the Demon Palace unless it is a huge benefit. In this world, how many benefits would the Demon Palace care about? In other words, who controls the most resources in the few starfields? Pavilion Master, do you need me to be clearer?" Crack. On the main seat, the teacup in the heaven-mending pavilion master's hand made a slight cracking sound. Below him, the various elders of the heaven-mending pavilion had ugly expressions. Everyone knew that no matter if it was Hong Wan, the All-Heavens, or the Z-Wei starfield, these ancient inheritances controlled the most resources. Only the things in their hands could make the Demon Palace go to war to fight for them. After a long time, the heaven-mending pavilion master put down the teacup in his hand and took a white towel from a maid beside him. He wiped his hands and said, even if it is as you said, why can't it be the Chi Tian Pavilion of the Ziwei Starfield? Or the various sects of the Tianlan Starfield? Of course we pick the soft persimmon to pinch. How stupid! Beside him, Yin interrupted and said in a sweet voice. Impudent! Below him, an elder of the heaven-mending pavilion was furious. He slammed the table and stood up, saying, Where did this girl come from? She actually dares to insult my heaven-mending pavilion like this. Ning Chen's gaze shifted and looked at the heaven-mending elder in front of him. He said indifferently, This little girl is just outspoken. Elder, why are you so angry? The heaven-mending pavilion was attacked by the ninth son of the Mahist sect and the Dawn Moon Pavilion Master, and its vitality was greatly damaged. This is no secret. Could it be that Elder really thinks that the people of the world and the Demon Palace do not know about this? On the opposite side, the heaven-mending pavilion elder's expression changed again and again. It was extremely unsightly. Elder Qi, do not be rude. On the main seat, the heaven-mending pavilion master said. He looked at the red-clothed king of hell below and said, Your Excellency King of Hell, please continue. Ning Chen nodded and said, Right now, everyone's attention is on the demon army trapped in Buddha Mountain. They have forgotten that the Demon Palace's true strength should be far more than this. If the Demon Palace's hidden forces were to be mobilized now, what would the consequences be? I think that it would be much better than the Demon Palace's Saint Minister escaping. Everyone in the world would be prepared. The heaven-mending pavilion master was silent. After thinking for a long time, he said, Many thanks for your Excellency King of Hell's warning. My heaven-mending pavilion will be careful. Ning Chen's face revealed a cold smile. He really did not shed tears until he saw the coffin. Pavilion Master. Ning Chen stood up and looked at the heaven-mending pavilion master in the hall. He said, Today, I came with sincerity to form an alliance. If Pavilion Master still has doubts about my words, then I can only say that it is a pity. I know that Pavilion Master does not want to provoke the Demon Palace. However, demons are still demons in the end. They will not understand Pavilion Master's painstaking efforts. Speaking up to hear, Ning Chen flipped his left hand. A black token appeared and flew towards the main seat. This is the King of Hell's order. Within 7 days, we will wait for Pavilion Master's reply. After 7 days, forgive us for not being able to wait any longer. At that time, we will have to choose another person. After speaking, Ning Chen did not stay any longer. He took the girl beside him and walked out of the hall. Outside the hall, the group of heaven-mending pavilion experts looked at the pavilion master on the main seat and waited for instructions. Inside the hall, the heaven-mending pavilion master lightly shook his head and signaled for everyone to let them pass. Among the group of heaven-mending pavilion experts, Ning Chen brought Yin forward. The coldness at the corner of his mouth became more and more intense. Not long after, he disappeared into the distance under everyone's gazes. After the two of them left, the expressions of all the heaven-mending pavilion elders in the heaven-mending temple became uglier and uglier. Even though they did not completely believe the words of the Yama King from the underworld, it was still very uncomfortable for someone to say such things in front of them at such a sensitive time. Outside the heaven-mending pavilion, as soon as the two walked out, Yin impatiently grabbed the arm of the person beside her. She raised her little head and waited for praise. Ning Chen lightly smiled and patted the head of the girl beside him. He said, You did well. Yin heard this and giggled. She said, Ning Chen, will they believe it? I think they still don't have the guts to provoke the Demon Palace. Of course they don't have the guts. Therefore, next, we will give Sir Butian a strong medicine. Whether they want to get involved in this muddy water or not, it is no longer up to them. Ning Chen said with a smile. Chapter 9:17. All Heaven Starfield, Demon Region. Inside a majestic palace, a black-clothed figure had been standing there for several tens of days without leaving. Inside the palace, Jun Wentian sat cross-legged and healed his injuries day and night. He did not take half a step out. The two people confronting each other, one in the light and one in the dark, locked their killing intent. Neither of them moved. "Your Excellency, are you planning to continue waiting like this?" Inside the palace, Jun Wentian opened his eyes and calmly said, "Or perhaps, are you confident that you can continue waiting?" Outside the palace, the black-clothed figure looked at the figure inside the palace and said, "If you were at your peak, I would naturally not be able to stop you. However, you are currently injured and the opportunity is in my hands. If you want to leave, I am confident that I can take you down with me. Are all the people in the underworld lunatics like you?" Jun Wentian said indifferently. Outside the palace, the black-clothed figure did not speak. He concealed his aura and did not leave any trace behind. Jun Wentian did not ask again. He continued to close his eyes and heal his injuries. Right now, he was unable to leave the palace. However, this situation would not last for long. As long as his injuries healed a little more, the people outside would not be able to stop him. At the border of the three domains, before countless meteorites, the black-clothed figure appeared. Before him, Ning Chen and Yin had been waiting for a long time. Ning Chen flipped his right hand and the soul-suppressing banner appeared. The auras of thousands of great demons were faintly discernible. "I'll leave it to you," Ning Chen said. Amen. The demonic body nodded and received the soul-suppressing banner. The instant the two of them touched, their memories fused together and they started to plan again. "Be careful. Do not expose your identity," Ning Chen warned again. "I understand," the demonic body coldly replied. Then, his appearance changed and he activated the chaos scripture. His aura also changed. The demonic body then left. Ning Chen looked in the direction that the demonic body left. After a short moment, his body split into two. The phoenix body appeared and the three bodies separated again. "Yin, let's return." Ning Chen waved his hand and dispersed the divine restriction. Then, he brought the girl beside him back to the underworld. Outside the divine restriction, the phoenix body moved and disappeared. In front of the king of Hell's palace, Ning Chen sent Yin back. Then, he did not stay any longer and immediately rushed towards the king of Equality Palace. He had finally found a way to treat Zi's injuries. Now that Hell was in dire need of more combat power, he couldn't afford to lose this good friend of his. In the all-heaven starfield, phoenixes spread their wings and flew past in a flash. At the same time, in the Hong-Wan starfield, demonic chi surged and covered the sky. The three of them went out together to make arrangements for the future Demon Slayer War. Within the Red One Star region, in front of the Heaven-Mending Pavilion, the demonic body appeared. Its appearance changed, and not a trace of its former appearance could be seen. Behind the demon, more than 1,000 great demons appeared. Boundless and majestic demonic chi surged in the starry sky, extending for thousands of miles. Within Heaven-Mending Pavilion, all of the Heaven-Mending Pavilion experts felt something. They looked towards the horizon, and their faces revealed shock. "Kill!" In the void, the demon body indifferently said. He turned his hand and clenched his fist. Suddenly, thousands of demons gathered together. A vigorous and overbearing strength constantly converged. Muffled thunder flashed and lightning flashed. Its might was terrifying. In the blink of an eye, the demonic fist descended from the sky and slammed into the heaven-patching formation with a loud bang. The fist, which had gathered the demonic body in the power of thousands of demons, broke the formation. With the formation broken, thousands of demonic figures descended from the sky. The demonic body in the lead surged with demonic chi. Looking at the people below, it coldly said, "Submit, or die." Below, the Heaven-Mending Pavilion Master looked at the demons in the sky. His expression was abnormally gloomy. It was as the king of hell had expected. The demon palace's next target was indeed his heaven-mending pavilion. Not allowing any more luck, the heaven-mending pavilion master no longer hesitated. He took a step forward and leapt into the sky above the sacred palace. Soon after, with a shout, he raised his body to the limit and summoned the heaven-mending pavilion's immortal artifact. In the next moment, a shocking scene occurred. Behind the heaven-mending temple, multicolored light shone as an immortal pagoda flickered with green light. The pagoda had 9 floors, and on each floor, layers upon layers of complex symbols flickered with light. Its might was shocking. Seeing this, the demonic body's figure rapidly flashed and took the initiative to attack first. Demonic essence gathered, and a fist with all of its strength smashed towards the heaven-mending pavilion master. The heaven-mending pavilion master's expression became serious. He urged the immortal pagoda to block in front of him. With a world-shaking collision, the immortal pagoda's brilliance blocked the demonic chi and resolved the crisis. The Ling Long immortal pagoda is indeed extraordinary. My demonic palace wants it. After speaking, the demonic body let out a shout. Within the rising black flames, an incomparable divine weapon descended into the world. Its entire body was pitch black, and the flames were burning. The scorching hot aura was unbearable. Sick King's 3 days sword. When the divine sword appeared, the heaven and earth were shocked. The demonic body waved the sword, and in the blink of an eye, the black sword light chopped down from the sky. In an instant, the heaven and earth could not bear this terrifying power and collapsed with a loud bang. With the crisis looming over him, the heaven-mending pavilion master's pupils shrank. He once again urged the immortal pagoda to block the black sword light. A painful muffled groan sounded. The black sword light passed through the immortal light and chopped down. The sick king's sword, which was based on the execution of immortals, suppressed the Ling Long immortal pagoda and heavily injured the heaven-mending pavilion master. Blood splattered everywhere and dyed the horizon red. Before everyone could react, the demonic body's figure flashed past. It raised its hand and grabbed the immortal pagoda. With a step, it rose into the sky. Below, everyone was shocked. Just as they were about to take action, another terrifying sword light cut through the horizon and descended from the sky. With a loud bang, the sword light descended and cut open 100 miles of land. This was the first time the world had seen such astonishing might. Today is only a warning. When I return, it will be the day of the heaven-mending pavilion's destruction. After saying that, the thousands of demonic bodies in the sky faded away and disappeared one after another. In front of Mount Shimi, the phoenix body stood still. It had already waited for many days. The 10,000 Lotus Buddha world was about to reach its limit, and it was also time to retrieve the immortal trapping sword. In the all-heaven starfield, above the demon domain, demonic aura flashed and disappeared. After leaving for several days, the demonic body returned once again. Not far from the demon palace's sacred palace, in a majestic palace, Jun Wentian, who had been recuperating for several days, opened his eyes. He stood up and walked out of the palace. "Sir, please show yourself." Jun Wentian's gaze swept across the abnormally quiet palace and said calmly, "It seems that your injuries have more or less healed." As he spoke, black flames jumped, and a figure hidden in the darkness walked out. "Although I have not fully healed, I should be able to walk out of this palace," Jun Wentian said indifferently. "Since that's the case, then let's give it a try." After saying that, the black-clothed figure walked out. The immortal pagoda in his left hand bobbed up and down with multicolored light. The divine sword in his right hand hummed, and black flames surged. Exquisite pagoda. Seeing the immortal pagoda in the former's hand, a strange expression flashed through Jun Wentian's eyes. He said, "So the underworld and the heaven-mending pavilion have such a relationship. In this world, it is not only the underworld that does not want you to walk out of this palace," the demonic body said indifferently. "How can the light of a firefly compete with the brilliance of the moon? The heaven-mending pavilion is nothing more than a clown. I never expected that you would dare to make an enemy out of the demon palace. Jun Wentian waved his hand, and 3 sharp blades appeared. Impressive demonic might swept through all directions. The great undertaking of killing demons is the responsibility of the world. The righteousness of the heaven-mending pavilion's pavilion master and the elders is not something that you can understand. The immortal pagoda hummed, and multicolored light fell. The demonic body moved, and the hell opened. Chapter 9:18. In the devil domain, majestic palaces towered like the clouds. In front of one of the palaces, 2 devils were battling, and black flames filled the sky. The first move was the sickly king's sword. Black flames surged, and its might shook the entire devil domain. In front of the palace, Jun Wentian blocked the divine weapon with his halberd. With a loud clang, he was forced back half a step. Sickly king's 3-sun sword. Close at hand, the devil body pushed his energy to the extreme. Instantly, a black sun spread out, devouring the heavens and earth, burning the devil world. The battle between the 2 devils was so sudden. In the devil domain, many experts were shocked as they looked in the direction of the battle. In front of the palace, the 2 of them had pushed their energy to the extreme since the beginning of the battle. The sickly king's divine sword clashed continuously, and the sound of metal clashing could be heard. After several moves, Jun Wentian raised his energy and gathered lightning in his palm. Then, he slammed his palm towards the sickly king. The devil body took a step forward, dodging the incoming attack. Soon after, his sword condensed into black flames and slashed down. Rumble. The sickly king's divine sword rose again, blocking the divine sword. The 2 strongest divine weapons in the world clashed, and the flames spread between the 2, engulfing the 9 heavens. Who is so capable to fight with Jun Wentian to such an extent? Within the demonic region, within an inconspicuous hall, several old figures opened their eyes and looked into the distance. One of them spoke in a serious voice. "That's right, old man, it should be a Yama king from the underworld. These days, many of our devil palace's plans have been ruined by him." Another person spoke. "That's not right. Aren't all Yama kings of the underworld masked? This person isn't wearing a Yama king mask." A third person spoke. "It doesn't matter. Since this person chose to be our enemy, he is our enemy. As for his identity, it doesn't matter." The fourth person spoke calmly. "Do any of you know when he arrived?" The fifth person asked. "No idea." In the darkness, the old figures shook their heads and answered. "This person has a supreme treasure that can conceal his aura. Moreover, his strength is not weak. He is a considerable threat to our devil palace." The sixth person spoke. "Let's decide." After the 6 of them spoke, the 7th person did not remain silent. He calmly said, "Are we going to attack or not? I suggest that we don't do anything. This person's strength should be below Jun Wentian's. Before we get the Devil Master's order, we shouldn't act on our own accord. The Devil Master is currently in seclusion and won't be paying attention to the matters outside for the time being. We have the authority to make a decision. I suggest that we help Jun Wentian," the second person said. Seconded. 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 The 4 of them nodded in agreement. More than half of the votes were cast. In the darkness, the 7th person looked forward and said indifferently, "Since the 4 of you have chosen to take action, this matter is decided. Who will do it?" "I'll do it." As soon as he finished speaking, a figure stood up from the darkness. Without another word, he walked out of the hall. At the same time, in the distant battlefield, the demon body sensed something and its expression turned solemn. "It's not very appropriate to be distracted in battle," Jun Wentian said indifferently as he struck out with his palm. "Your Excellency's helper has arrived. Forgive me for not being able to accompany you any longer." The demon body activated the immortal pagoda. Multicolored lights surrounded it and blocked the former's palm strike. Then, it took a step forward and was about to leave. Since our esteemed guest is here, why are you in a hurry to leave? At this moment, a gust of wind blew. In the wind, a figure in an ancient green robe appeared. Moving like the wind, he increased his speed and blocked the demon body's path of retreat. The demon body focused and slashed with the sickly king's divine sword. Black flames surged and engulfed everything within 100 miles. Wind riding technique. The next move had a completely different power. The old man in the green robe gathered his vitality. In an instant, the wind blew and the shocking move engulfed the black flames within 100 miles. The demon body focused and activated his extreme vitality. The immortal pagoda and divine sword hummed together. Multicolored light and black flames rolled out and collided with the terrifying storm. The two moves collided, each destroying the other. Outside the battlefield, Jun Wentian frowned slightly. He stood there and didn't make another move. Who are you? What's your relationship with Bai Wangran? After one move, the demon body looked at the old man in front of him and asked. I'm from the Wind Trust sect. Bai Wangran is my disciple, the old man in the green robe said indifferently. After trapping a young one, I didn't expect an old one to appear. The demon body's eyes turned colder. He glanced at Jun Wentian behind him and said coldly, aren't you going to make a move? If the two of you join forces, you might be able to keep me here. I, Jun Wentian, never need to join forces with anyone. Outside the battlefield, Jun Wentian said indifferently. Inside the battlefield, the Wind Trust sect frowned slightly but didn't say anything. Everyone in the Demon Palace knew about Jun Wentian's temper. It was useless to say anything. The demon body retracted his gaze and looked at the person opposite him. Now, you're the only one left. Do you still need to call for help? To deal with you, I alone am enough. The Wind Trust sect snorted coldly and stepped into the void. The tornado reappeared and the dragon roared. The demon body took a step and retreated 100 feet. The sickly king urged again. Black flames engulfed and a black sun rose into the sky, illuminating the world. The flames in the wind were boundless and terrifying. As the wind spread, half of the demon domain was set ablaze. Seeing this, the Wind Trust sect immediately retracted his attack. He raised his palm and stirred up the wind and clouds, causing rain to fall. With a boom, lightning flashed and thunder roared. Heavy rain poured down, trying to extinguish the flames. However, the black flames weren't afraid of the rain and continued to spread. The fire grew bigger and bigger. Goodbye. Hundreds of feet away, the demonic body said coldly. Above the sickly king, the sun shone brightly. 3 black suns coiled up and immediately fell from the sky, attacking in 3 different directions. The demon body stepped forward and turned into a black ray of light, disappearing into the horizon. The Wind Trust sect's face was gloomy. He raised his hand and condensed Yuan. Violent winds spread out and blocked the 3 black suns. Jun Wentian, you. After the people from the underworld left, the Wind Trust sect looked at the man who hadn't made a move yet. Jun Wentian glanced at the old man in front of him and said indifferently, next time, don't blame me for being impolite. With that, Jun Wentian didn't stay any longer. He turned and walked into the hall behind him. At the intersection of the 3 regions, demonic aura surged. The demon body returned and waved his hand to disperse the divine restriction outside the underworld. He walked in. In the King of Hell's palace, Ning Qin sensed something. He smiled gently at the girl in front of him and said, I'm going to take care of some things. I'll be back soon. Man nodded lightly and said gently, go ahead. Go ahead. At the side, Yin also nodded her head in a similar manner and said in a delicate voice. Ning Qin chuckled and patted the little girl's head. Then, he got up and walked outside. The demon body walked to the front of the king's palace. The two of them met and looked at each other. The result was clear. "Looks like you succeeded," Ningchen said. The demon body nodded. He flipped his left hand and the Ling Long celestial pagoda appeared. Suddenly, rays of auspicious light rose with extraordinary power. Ning Chen looked at the celestial pagoda in the demon body's hand and smiled. "Now, I'm even more certain that the heaven-mending pavilion doesn't have a fourth realm." The Ling Long celestial pagoda was the most precious treasure of the heaven-mending pavilion. They couldn't afford to lose it. The demon body snatched this item forcefully, but no fourth realm appeared. The result was clear. Without this pagoda, the heaven-mending pavilion's strength will be even weaker. "In the future, we won't be able to resist the demon palace," the demon body said lightly. "The heaven-mending pavilion is already at the end of its rope. All I want is for them to buy some time," Ning Chen said calmly. "There's one more thing. There are still experts in the demon region." The demon body explained the battle with the Wind Trust sect and reminded, "This person's cultivation is above the Moon Weaver girl and Bai Wangran. If he wasn't worried about the demon region being destroyed, it wouldn't have been so easy for me to escape." Hearing this, Ning Chen was silent for a moment. Then, he nodded and said, "It's not surprising that the demon palace has other experts. After all, there's still a demon master. The demon palace's strength is far from reaching its bottom line. Don't forget what you promised." The demon body looked at the main body in front of him and said in a low voice, "Don't tell me you've already forgotten the other reason why you reopened the underworld." Ning Chen shook his head and said, "I won't forget. It's just that there's still no news of the ghost girl. However, as long as the name of the underworld spreads, the ghost girl will eventually hear it. She's the Yama king of the underworld. Only the underworld is her home. What if she can't hear it?" Qing Ning said that there was a problem with the ghost girl's resurrection. Her consciousness didn't seem to have returned. Otherwise, she wouldn't have left with the Immortal Corpse Patrol without leaving behind a few words, the demon body said coldly. Ning Chen sighed inwardly and didn't explain further. "I just want to remind you not to forget what you should do. This is what we owe her. It's also the only value of my existence." The demon body said coldly. Then, his figure dissipated and entered the former's body. Inside the palace, a man walked out. Looking at the man in front of the palace, she reached out and gently smoothed his tired face. She smiled and said, "Take it slow. One day, we'll find the ghost girl sister." "I'm sorry." Looking at the clean and flawless woman in front of him, Ning Chen's face revealed a deep apology. "There's no need to apologize." A man said softly, "You don't owe me. From the beginning to the end, you didn't owe me anything. It's just that I chose to like you, and it made you feel burdened. 100 years ago, I asked you if you were willing to wait for me. You didn't answer, so I took it as your answer. 100 years later, I waited for you, and I'll continue to wait." "Silly girl." Ning Chen sighed softly and said, "Why? I like you." A man looked at the person in front of her and smiled. "That's the only answer. No matter what you choose, no matter where you go in the future, I'll do my best to follow you." Their eyes met. For some unknown reason, Ning Chen gradually didn't dare to look at the woman in front of him. A man withdrew her gaze and smiled gently. "You'll never lie to us." He was so smart, smarter than anyone in the world. He was eloquent and had deceived everyone in the world. However, he wasn't willing to tell her a single white lie. It was like this in the past, and it was like this now. His feelings were always hidden deep in his heart. It was so deep that he didn't want anyone to see it. Why wasn't she the first person to meet him? Chapter 919. Buddha Mountain, 10,000 Lotus Barrier. In the sky, the light of the lotuses grew weaker and weaker, on the verge of collapse. Within the Buddha dimension, numerous figures stood in midair while blocking layer after layer of Buddhist lights and sword lights. After over a month of time, the bodies of all the devils had already been dyed crimson red. No matter how formidable their cultivations were, they'd still reached the point of exhaustion after forcefully holding on for over a month. Outside the Buddha world, a red-clothed figure stood quietly. His face was so familiar that it made people hate him. Inside the Buddha world, the experts of the demon palace looked at the people outside with killing intent in their eyes. In the void, the black and white chess pieces around Jia Tian's crisscrossed, blocking the light of Buddha and sword radiance from the ground. His eyes were looking at the people outside the world of Buddhism, calm as usual, without the slightest ripple. In this game, no matter how this kid and the underworld struggled, the destruction of Buddha Mountain was a fact. The heavens were united, and no one could stop the demon palace's footsteps. The sun set and the moon rose. In the sky, the lotuses were about to collapse. Outside the Buddha world, many figures descended from the sky. Their faces were covered with the evil faces of the Yama kings. Under the night sky, they looked ferocious and terrifying. The leader of the Yama kings, a red-clothed and blood-red-haired Yama, stood quietly. His powerful aura swept out. The might of the king of hell was undeniable. Outside the Buddha realm, the phoenix body turned around and looked at the crowd. She nodded lightly. Looks like everyone is here. In the Buddha world, Jia Tian looked at the figures of the Yama kings in front of him and said indifferently. The Saint Arbiter is about to come out. How dare we not come out to welcome him? The leader of the Yama kings, the red-clothed Yama, stepped forward and said coldly. 6 Yama kings of the underworld and the 9th son of Mahist sect. Jia Tian glanced at the exhausted experts of the demon palace in the Buddha world and said, you all came prepared. You probably want to catch all of us in one fell swoop. Indeed. Let's see if the Saint Arbiter will cooperate, the red-clothed Yama said coldly. Saint Arbiter. Below, Moon Weaver and Bai Wang Ran worked together to block the immortal trapping sword chi that surged out from the ground. They looked outside with unusually serious expressions. Now, they were seriously exhausted. It was impossible for them to block the 6 Yama kings of the underworld and the 9th son of Mahist sect. Focus on breaking the array, don't worry about anything else, Jia Tian said in the sky. Yes. The Moon Weaver Maiden and Bai Wang Ran grunted in response. They didn't ask any more questions and continued to break the formation. Friends from the underworld, would it be possible for me to choose my opponent first? In front of the Buddha world, the phoenix figure turned her head and spoke. Sure. All of the Yama kings nodded in response. Thank you. The phoenix body turned around and looked at the barefooted woman standing in the air in the Buddha realm. The sadness in her eyes was difficult to conceal. In the Buddha world, the demonic butterfly sensed something and turned around to look at the young man in front of her. There was no longer any trace of gentleness in her cold and emotionless eyes. In the air, Jia Tian calmly looked at this scene as he spoke. The memories of butterfly in the flower had already been erased by him. Right now, the only thing she had was the killing instinct that she had devoured from the 9 true realm experts of the Devil Palace. The weakness of the 9th son of the Mahist sect was truly too obvious. This was also the reason why he dared to borrow the hands of this son to eliminate his opponents like the Qilin Pavilion and the Heaven-Mending Pavilion. Boom! At this moment, the 10,000 lotus barrier in the sky collapsed. Endless Buddhist light turned into specks of light and dissipated. Below, the Moon Weaver Maiden and Bai Wang Ran worked together to break the Yellow Spring's divine restriction. Immediately, red light filled the sky and scattered between heaven and earth. The Buddha world and divine restriction were broken. The Moon Weaver Maiden's figure appeared and rushed down, wanting to seize the opportunity to snatch the immortal sword. But at this moment, a red light flashed. The phoenix flew at top speed and arrived on the immortal sword before anyone else. Stepping on the ground, the immortal sword was thrust into the ground. A majestic sword current soared into the sky. The Moon Weaver Maiden's pupils constricted. She turned around and slashed with the moon god's insignia. A huge star appeared behind her and spiraled. Sword light broke out and blocked the sword current that soared into the sky. In an instant, the two sword intents collided. Rumbling sounds rang out as the sword intents spread and devoured each other. You want to snatch the sword? You're not qualified. The phoenix said coldly. Her left hand clenched and Taishur appeared. She looked at the Yama kings not far away and said calmly, Friends, I'll leave these people to you. As soon as she finished speaking, an earth-shattering phoenix cry rang out. In the red flames that filled the sky, the phoenix's ancestral awakening appeared. Behind the phoenix, a pair of phoenix wings appeared. The huge wings of fire flapped, and a terrifying fire element rose continuously. The phenomenon of burning the sky and boiling the sea filled the entire Buddha mountain. Not far away, the demonic butterfly felt the threat coming from the front. She looked over, but there was no fear on her cold and emotionless face. Her demonic aura erupted. Instantly, black butterflies filled the sky. Behind the demonic butterfly, a huge pair of butterfly wings spread open. Demonic waves roiled, frightening ghosts and gods. Gods and demons, phoenixes and demonic butterflies collided. The battle had yet to begin, but the red flames and black butterflies that filled the sky had already split the heavens and earth into two. Intense sounds of collisions rang out. The Buddha mountain shook, unable to bear this terrifying power, and rumbled as it collapsed. The battle was about to begin. This shocking scene caused everyone present to raise their eyebrows. While they were shocked, they also felt their hearts palpitate. Not to mention the ninth son of Mahist Gate, the butterfly in the flower had been trapped in the Buddha world for more than a month, but it still retained such shocking strength. It was truly unbelievable. The 9 netherworlds heaven-devouring demon scripture is truly worthy of being called the #1 demonic art in the world. Outside the battle, the Moon Weaver saw this shocking scene and said in a low voice. Fortunately, the butterfly in the flower was under their control. Otherwise, it would have been a huge problem. Moon Weaver, the battle between you and me has yet to be decided. Let's continue. At this moment, Yama King Mahist walked over. As he walked, the mountain and river sword realm opened. The surrounding world turned into black mountains and white water. The only sword skill in the world was truly admirable. The Moon Weaver came back to her senses. Looking at the man walking between the mountains and rivers, her eyes narrowed slightly. Her slender hand waved, and the moonlight that reversed the water reappeared. Sword light pierced through the air, shooting toward the former. With a loud rumble, the sword light broke through a layer of mountains and rivers. Mahist Gate's figure disappeared. When he reappeared, he had advanced 100 steps. Such a strange scene was incomprehensible. In this mountain and river sword realm, everything you see is just a dream. Unfortunately, you will never be able to walk out of this dream. As he spoke, the mountains and rivers shifted. Ink and sword chi crisscrossed, without beginning or end, majestically pressing down on the woman in the sword realm. The battle had begun. The Devil Palace's army was in danger. At this moment, the wind and clouds in the sky swirled. Numerous old figures walked out, wearing ancient clothes. Their auras were extremely powerful. Bai Wangran was shocked when he saw the person who had arrived. He immediately bowed and said respectfully, Master. In the sky, among the 7 old men in ancient clothes, Feng Xinzong nodded lightly and said calmly, Rise. Bai Wangran stood up and looked at the 7 people. His expression was difficult to conceal. Why would Master and the others appear here? Could it be that the Devil Lord had come out of seclusion? 7 Sins Sect, you finally arrived. In the sky above Buddha Mountain, Jia Tiance looked at the 7 people in front of him and said calmly. Chapter 920. In the ruins of Buddha Mountain, the flames of war raged. The 7 Sin sect of the Demon Palace had appeared, and the situation had changed. When the 7 of them appeared, demonic clouds covered the moon. Their extremely powerful aura swept up the wind and clouds, and a terrifying pressure descended from the sky, causing the entire Buddha kingdom to tremble. When the phoenix body and the 6 kings of hell saw this, their expressions darkened. The hidden power of the Demon Palace had finally appeared. 7 against 7, fair and just. Come. Feng Xinzong looked at the 6 kings of hell and the 9th son of Mahist sect. The leader of the 6 kings of hell, the red-clothed king of hell, glanced at the 7 of them and the 3 guardians of the Demon Palace behind him. Retreat. The opportunity had been lost. The red-clothed king of hell made a prompt decision and ordered. Not far away, the 5 kings of hell received the order at the same time. Their figures flashed, and they withdrew from the battle. On the other side, the phoenix body sighed softly in the red flames. He clenched his left hand, and the trapping immortal flew up. Then, the phoenix fire wings on his back flapped, and he turned into a fire phoenix and flew away. In the sky above Buddha Mountain, Jiatians, the 7 Sin sect, and the others did not stop them, allowing them to leave. Master. Bai Wangran stepped forward and bowed again. In the 7 Sin sect, the Feng Xinzong nodded lightly and did not say anything. He raised his right hand, and immediately, a powerful force spread out and entered the former's body, helping him suppress his injuries. The other 6 looked at the battlefield with different expressions. In this battle, the Demon Palace had suffered so many losses. The 9th son of Mahist sect and the Buddha Lord of Buddha Mountain were indeed extraordinary. Let's go. It's time to go back. Jiatians glanced at the crowd and immediately walked forward. The Moon Weaver and the demon generals followed. Not far away, the 7 Sin sect's figures gradually disappeared into the night. At the intersection of the 3 regions, outside the divine restriction, 7 figures appeared. The red-clothed king of hell waved his hand to disperse the divine restriction and walked in. The 6 of them followed. After entering the divine restriction, the meteorite returned to its original position, and the restriction opened again. In the King of Hell's palace, a beautiful woman sat in front of a cute and playful girl. The 2 of them were playing chess step by step. The entire chessboard was almost filled with chess pieces, but there was still no clear winner. Your master and the others are back. At this moment, Man put down the chess piece in her hand. I'll go get him. Hearing this, immediately got up, threw down the chess piece, and jogged to the front of the hall to welcome him. In front of the King Yenlua's palace, the crowd walked over and took off their masks, revealing familiar faces. Ning Chen. Looking at the figure in front of the crowd, shouted. Ning Chen looked at the girl in front of him and nodded with a smile. He reached out and patted the girl's head, saying, Master has important matters to discuss. I'll accompany you later. As soon as he finished speaking, Ning Chen strode into the main hall. Behind him, the other Yama kings also entered one after another, and all of them wore solemn expressions. Pouted, her little face full of unhappiness as she stood at the door, sulking. Wild walked out from the hall and said softly, Your master is busy. Don't be angry. Little mistress. Looked at the woman in front of her, her pretty little face revealing an aggrieved expression. Man raised her hand to rub the girl's hair and said with a smile, I'll accompany you to practice the sword, okay? Nodded lightly and pointed her nose at the inside of the hall. Then, she hugged the arm of the person in front of her and a smile appeared on her face again. The 2 of them left. In the King Yenlua's palace, the 6 Yama kings took their positions and waited for a moment. In front of the hall, several figures arrived and walked towards their respective seats. What happened? Jian looked at the solemn expressions of everyone present and asked. A new strong practitioner has appeared in the Demon Palace, Mu Qianshang replied. Why? This is expected. What's so strange about it? Jian Er frowned. What if it's 7 strong practitioners on the same level as Jun Wentian? Mu Qiansheng asked in a low voice. Jian Er heard this and was shocked. Disbelief appeared on his face. How could it be? Don't panic. Ning Chen opened his mouth and said seriously, the demon body once fought with the Wind Trust sect of the Seven Sins sect. That person's cultivation is indeed not inferior to Jun Wentian's. However, the most terrifying thing about Jun Wentian is his eye that surpasses the third realm. If they really fight, the threat of these 7 people should not reach Jun Wentian's level. Everyone fell silent. Although that was the case, no one knew what trump cards the Seven Sins sect had before they really fought. It was already troublesome for one strong practitioner of this level to appear. Now that 7 of them had appeared at once, they were truly at a loss. Seeing that everyone's morale was low, Ning Chen smiled and said, "Everyone, this is just a temporary predicament. There's no need to frown. From the very beginning, we already knew that the Demon Palace's strength was shocking. We were even prepared to face a 4th realm. Now, the Demon Palace has not yet produced a 4th realm, which is already a gain for us." "Ji Ming, you're really optimistic," Luo Xingqian said from below. "Compared to our helplessness when we faced the Nether King, friend, we should be content," Ning Chen said with a smile. "Ha!" Luo Xingqian smiled helplessly and said, "Don't mention those days again. I'm afraid I'll have nightmares." The 2 of them exchanged a few simple words. Among the seats, those who had experienced the great calamity of the divine continent all laughed at themselves. Ji Ming was right. They had all climbed out from a pile of corpses. It was really embarrassing to be frightened by such a small difficulty. Isn't it just a few old fellows? Let's fight them one by one. I don't believe that these 7 old fellows can stay together forever. If we can't beat them one-on-one, it shouldn't be a problem for the few of us to fight one of them, Mu Qiansheng said with a hint of anger on his face. Hearing that, everyone laughed softly. Only Ji Ming and his friends from the divine continent could say that they would fight one of them with a few people so confidently. What are you laughing at? Mu Qiansheng looked at everyone with disdain and said, "I also want to fight one-on-one openly. Unfortunately, those who did that back then were all smashed into smithereens by the Nether King. I've already done it with dozens of people fighting one of them. What's the point of being pretentious now?" Ha! Everyone chuckled again, but no one said anything. In special times, special methods must be used. No one could deny that. At the head of the seats, seeing that everyone's morale had almost recovered, the smile on Ning Chen's face disappeared and he said, "Everyone, let's discuss how to fight against the Devil Palace, whose strength has greatly increased." Hearing that, everyone's expression turned serious and they quietly waited for the former's arrangement. Ning Chen looked at everyone and said calmly, "In the next period of time, the Devil Palace should begin to rest and reorganize their army. Therefore, we will have a short buffer period. The most important thing is still to find a way to increase our strength. Once the war starts again, the opponents we face will undoubtedly be more terrifying. In the previous battle of Buddha Mountain, Shenji of Shinji Peak and Reverend Baiyue of the Baiyue clan appeared. Can we pull these 2 people to our camp?" Qi Yanxia suggested. "We can, but it's not good for our identities to be known by more people. It's more appropriate for me to discuss the alliance as the 9th disciple of Mo Gate." Ning Chen nodded and said, "Knowing destiny, perhaps we can consider bringing more experts from the inner world," Jian Er said seriously. Jian Er, who was at the side, said seriously, "It would be difficult for them to fight against the demonic palace with just the few of them. They needed more battle power." Jian Er is right. Luo Xingqian also nodded and said, "We can't do all the dirty work. It's time for others to contribute." Ning Chen shook his head and said, "It's fine to bring more people, but it's better to have quality than quantity. The reason why the major star fields can't fight against the Devil Palace isn't because they are weaker than the Devil Palace. There are so many experts in each star field, but they can't be as strict as the Devil Palace. Without a unified command, they will only be defeated one by one. We do lack battle power, but we also need to be strict in our selection. I have a candidate in mind, but I don't know if young Master Ning can find her, King Aaron said with a smile. Please speak, Ning Chen said. The first disciple of the Heavenly Music Pavilion, Wu Qingying. 100 years ago, she helped in the ancient battlefield. She is as strong as us and should be of great help, King Aaron said softly. Ning Chen heard this and nodded. He did have an impression of this woman. She was strong. If they could find her, she would be of great help to them. Can we invite that Changling female supreme? She may be stronger than us, Mu Qianshang suggested. The female supreme was the first to enter the treading immortal realm in the divine lands. However, she was too low-key and rarely fought. I can't guarantee that the female supreme will come. I can only try my best, Ning Chen said. What about Mu Qingxue? Knowing destiny, Jian Air, have you not heard any news of her in the past 100 years? Mu Qianshang frowned and said. Ning Chen was silent and then shook his head gently. Below, Jian Air sighed softly and said, I have searched for little junior sister's whereabouts for a long time, but there is no news. Maybe she doesn't want us to find her. A pity. A trace of regret appeared on Mu Qianshang's face. In terms of talent, the daughter of Desolate City looked down on the world. Today, she should be in the True Realm or even the True Realm. In the battle with the Nether King, Mu Qingshue's speed played a crucial role. If she could appear, it would be of great help to them when they fought against the Demon Palace in the future. While everyone conversed, a man stood silently outside the hall, and he watched the little girl practice her sword while a trace of a warm smile hung on his face from the beginning until the end. After practicing for a long time, wiped the sweat from her forehead and ran forward. She said sweetly, Little Masteress, I'm done. Man smiled softly and wiped the sweat from the girl's face. She said, Are you hungry? I'll take you to eat. Okay. Nodded vigorously and said. Man smiled again and pulled the former's hand to the side hall. In front of the King Yama Palace, the kings of hell who had been discussing for a long time walked out. When they saw the two, they nodded in greeting. Man smiled and returned the greeting. She did not speak and led to the side hall. In front of the hall, Mu Qiansheng and Luofei looked at the former's back and fell silent. Back then, there were many rumors in the world that the little princess of the barbarian dynasty was likely to marry into the Great Xia. Unfortunately, in the end, the rumors were just rumors and did not become true. Chapter 921. Central State's Tearless City. Inside the Red Monarch's palace, Red Monarch Wu Lei was cultivating day and night in a dark red dress. Above the main hall, a crimson cauldron was sprinkling a dense mist. Powerful fire elemental energy filled the hall, aiding the current Red Monarch in his breakthrough. Outside the main hall, Qing Ning looked at the little girl who was constantly fighting against fate. A trace of heartache flashed across her eyes. This was already the 4th time. If she failed again, she really didn't know if the little girl would be able to take it. Sister Qing Ning. Behind her, Ruoshi came over with the prepared elixirs and whispered, Can Wu Lei succeed this time? Qing Ning sighed and immediately shook her head, the chances are very small. Wu Lei's aptitude is good, but compared to your young lord's friends, there's still a big gap. Last time, she was disturbed at the Ji house and failed to break through. Her Qi and meridians were severely damaged. It's too difficult for her to break through again. If it really doesn't work, let's take Wu Lei to the young lord and see if he has a way. Ruoshi worriedly said. Wait a little longer. Qing Ning's face was solemn. Ning Chen is currently busy dealing with the Demon Palace. We shouldn't disturb him for the time being. Hearing this, Ruashi fell silent and then gently nodded. Ugh! At this moment, a painful groan sounded from inside the palace. The cauldron went out of control and endless red flames surged wildly. Not good. Outside the palace, the two people's expressions changed. Qing Ning's body moved, and her lotus aura was released. She quickly flew into the palace. At this moment, the heavens and earth suddenly sank. Above the void, a beautiful and familiar figure appeared. In an instant, she walked into the main hall. Her delicate hand condensed energy and an abnormally powerful force dispersed the flames and poured into the woman's body. Seeing this person, Qing Ning's expression showed a touch of surprise. Why is she here? Not long after, the flames in the hall gradually subsided and returned to the cauldron. Miss Qing Ning, long time no see. Nu Chang looked back and smiled at the woman behind her. Nu Chang. Qing Ning politely bowed. How have you been? Nu Chang nodded. Her eyes flashed as she looked at Hong Wulei beside her. This girl is too impatient. Her qi has yet to fully recover. Rashly attacking the corporeal stage will only worsen her injuries. Qing Ning sighed softly and said, ever since Wulei failed in her first attempt to break through to the reality realm, her injuries have never healed. Your Majesty also knows that this kind of injury is the hardest to recover from. This girl is unwilling to be trapped in the emptiness realm for the rest of her life, so no one can persuade her otherwise. It seems that Jiming Marquis has given me another big problem. Nu Chang smiled. Oh. When Qing Ning heard this, a strange expression appeared on her face. What do you mean? He didn't say anything. A helpless smile appeared on Nu Chang's face as she said, in the letter he sent, he asked me to go to the underworld to help him. However, before I left, he asked me to take a look at Tearless City. Ha! Qing Ning chuckled. This guy only knows how to trouble others. The woman smiled and said, I was wondering why the messenger couldn't come here. It turns out that the Marquis of Jiming asked me to do something. Does your Majesty have a way? Qing Ning's expression turned serious as she said. This one will do her best. Nu Chang looked at the woman beside her and sighed softly. 100 years ago, for the life scroll, I spent 1,000 years of Changling's resources to save Jiming Marquis' life. I had not expected that after 100 years, it will be used up again. As she spoke, Nu Chang's left hand flipped. In an instant, light rose. An irregular bead flew out and slowly entered Hong Wulei's Dantian energy sea. This is the 3-life bead. Nu Chang withdrew her hand with a hint of heartache in her eyes. She said, while it is not as good as the legendary 3-life stone that can change fate, it should be enough to heal this girl's injuries. Qing Ning looked at the girl whose breathing was gradually stabilizing and sighed in relief. She looked at the Changling female supreme and bowed respectfully. She said, I thank your Majesty on behalf of Wulei. No need. Nu Chang shook her head. This one will make Jiming Marquis pay for this. He can't run away. Qing Ning smiled softly. Of course. Well, Jiming Marquis urged this one to go over. I will not stay any longer. Let's talk again when you come over. Nu Chang said. Qing Ning nodded. Farewell, Your Majesty. Nu Chang nodded slightly and looked at the woman outside the hall. She said, Ruashi, see you in the future. With that, Nu Chang did not delay any longer. Her figure faded and disappeared from the hall. Outside the hall, Ruashi stepped into the hall with worry in her eyes. She said, Sister Qing Ning, young master even invited Your Majesty. Did he encounter some trouble? Don't worry. Qing Ning comforted softly. Your young master can handle it. There is no hurdle in the world that he can't cross. Sister Qing Ning. Ruashi's eyes dimmed. I miss young master. When Wu Lei recovers, we will go find him. Qing Ning nodded. Red Luan, purple myrtle, and all heavens. At the intersection of the three domains, thousands of meteors floated. It seemed chaotic, but on each meteor, there were divine restrictions. Danger lurked at every step. More than 10 days later, Nu Chang appeared outside the thousands of meteors. She looked at the dense array in front of her with a strange light in her eyes. She was no stranger to the time restriction and yellow spring restriction. However, to be able to set up such a grand array with stars as the foundation, Jiming Marquis was really extraordinary. At this moment, the thousands of meteors suddenly moved. The divine restrictions opened and the underworld appeared. On the vast and boundless continent, 10 great halls stood on it. It was majestic and made people sigh. In the next moment, in front of the divine restrictions, a stream of light gathered. A figure in plain clothes walked out and personally appeared to greet. Nu Chang, welcome. Ning Chen looked at Changling's Nu Chang and smiled. This one actually didn't want to come. Nu Chang smiled. You invited me here for no good reason. Jiming Marquis, I can help you, but the reward cannot be less. Ha! Ning Chen smiled and said, how can this one's little things enter Nu Chang's eyes? This is not a place to talk. Nu Chang, please come with me. Then Ning Chen turned and walked into the divine restrictions, leading the way. The female Chang stepped forward and followed him, disappearing into the divine restriction together. The two appeared in front of the Yama Palace and then walked into the palace. In front of the discussion table of the 10 Yama kings, the experts stood up and bowed to the newcomers. Among the crowd, Lin Yuzhen had a strange expression when she saw this. This Nu Chang's status seemed extraordinary. Everyone, do not be so courteous. Nu Chang looked at the crowd and said with a smile, now, you have all grown into experts who can hold your own. You can talk to me as equals. We do not dare. Aaron Ming King said softly, Nu Chang is an elder. We should bow to you. She also came from the homeland of West Buddha. She knew how terrifying this Changling Nu Chang was. The ancient lands of Changling had always been a taboo of West Earth due to the existence of this Nu Chang. Nu Chang finally noticed the woman at the front and said with a strange expression, you are that Buddha girl of Tianfo Mountain? As expected, you have great talent. In just 100 years, you have entered true realm. Nu Chang praises me too much, Aaron does not dare, Aaron Ming King responded. Nu Chang smiled slightly and swept her gaze across the people present. She said, it seems you have really encountered trouble. With everyone's strength, it is enough to sweep through half of the galaxy. Why are you so worried now? It is a long story. Nu Chang, please sit and let us speak slowly. Ning Chen reached out and said respectfully. Ha, no need to be so polite. Nu Chang walked to the discussion table and casually found a seat. She said, speak. Ning Chen did not continue to be pretentious. He walked to the front seat and sat down. He said, the matter is like this. In the next hour, Ning Chen described in detail what had happened in the past few days, especially the Battle of Tianfo Mountain and the Seven Sins sect of the Mo Palace. He explained seriously. Butterfly in the flower? Nu Chang frowned slightly and said, is it that central continent blade god? Yes. Ning Chen nodded and said. It is a pity that she is a genius of a generation. Nu Chang sighed softly and said, in that case, other than the 4 great protectors of the Mo Palace, the even stronger Seven Sins sect has appeared. The Mo Palace's foundation is really terrifying. What is even more terrifying is that the Demon Lord has not appeared yet. This means that the Mo Palace still has some strength left. If we do not force the Demon Lord out, we will never see the true bottom line of the Mo Palace. Ning Chen said seriously. Know yourself and know your enemy and you will never be defeated. The current situation is indeed a little troublesome. Nu Chang's eyes narrowed slightly and said, the 10 palaces are all present. I will not participate. Now that you are in the dark, although you have hidden your identities, your strength is not small. Then, I will come to the surface. In the future, there will be someone to face the Mo Palace head-on. Right now, the strength on the surface is too weak. We need more people to join us. Hearing this, everyone nodded lightly. Nu Cheng was right. They could barely support the forces in the dark, but the strength to face the Mo Palace on the surface was too little. I have already sent people to send letters to Divine Machine Peak and Reverence Moon Ancient Ground. I believe there will be a reply soon. Also, Butian Pavilion has replied not long ago. They are willing to form an alliance with the underworld to fight the Mo Palace together. Ning Chen explained in detail. Butian Pavilion, they are finally afraid. Below, Luo Xingqian sneered and said, Ji Ming, you have really screwed Butian Pavilion over quite a bit this time. Fighting against the Mo Palace is the responsibility of the world. They did not listen to my kind words, so I can only use this method. Ning Chen said calmly. We need to find out the true strength of the Seven Sins sect as soon as possible. Ji Ming Marquis, you should have a plan in mind, right? Nu Cheng asked. Yes. Ning Chen nodded and said, when the battle strength is gathered, we will fight against the Mo Palace head-on. Everyone, please prepare as soon as possible. These days, the Mo Palace is already reorganizing their armies. I believe that they will start another war very soon. There is not much time left for us. Understood. Everyone present nodded in unison and replied, you're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.